What's good? So yeah, my name is Kiwa. I'm a 19-year-old entrepreneur. I made around $8,000 last month with my social media marketing agency, and around last year in November, December, in between those 2 months, I had around 29 cents in my bank account. Now, that's not the whole story. I'm gonna go into who I was, when I was really young, all the things that happened to me growing up, how I was actually homeless at another period of time in my life when I was younger. And I also want to preface this immediately, and I want to talk about this immediately. This video is made for educational purposes. Every story, image, or action done in this video is a hypothetical and could or could not have actually happened. So I need to say that because after dropping this video, I might have a decent amount of people mad at me. I might have a decent amount of people that are pretty pissed at me dropping this, either from the cancellation or from other stories that I'm going to talk about. Now, I will not be saying a single person's name in this video. I will be referring to people as friends or just people. The only name that will be mentioned in this story is mine. And yeah, all the images I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you a lot of images and videos in this video. They all are AI generated, or some of them are, some of them aren't. I'm not going to say which ones are or aren't. If you know what I mean. I have to say that because there's a lot of crazy shit I'm going to show you guys. But yeah, so this is what we're going to cover. All right, who I was growing up. What type of person was I when I was like a little kid? Before the ego death, before quarantine, before all this other stuff, who was I fundamentally? Spoiler alert, I was pretty much an NPC, there was some other stuff happening, but yeah, then we're going to go into my ego death, that entire event that happened in my life, which is probably the most profound event I have ever been through. Nothing can top that. I think the only thing that could top that is me actually dying. So after that, we're going to talk about quarantine, how that was affecting me, what I was doing in quarantine, mom losing her mind. And when I say that, some people are like, oh, was she just an asshole to you? Like, no. My mom, at the time, because I don't really view her as a mom anymore, she was talking to things and people that were not there. She was actively losing her mind, like actually going insane. And I'll talk about this more. She's actually now somewhere in Southeast Asia. We have no fucking idea where she's at. But besides that, we're going to talk about that. Then me getting canceled, and then the cancellation actually leading to me actually having to drop out of high school, which was pretty crazy. After that, me becoming a degenerate, using all that negative energy in a negative way, which was not the way I should have. And I'm also, at the end of this video, I'm actually going to show you guys a whole timeline, like start to finish with images and everything, and also how I was oscillating in this timeline, how my life was getting better and worse, and why it was, and how I could have prevented it in the past. And I kind of want to give that to you guys. So if you guys are, dabbling in some degeneracy, being kind of dumb right now, or if you're going through a period in your life that's fucking horrible, you're going through hell, I want to show you guys literally how to break out of it. And you probably won't like the answer, but it's a fucking great one. So yeah, after that, starting to get into business, Andrew Tate kind of pops off. I start watching him and some other people. Being my business partner and best friend at the time, I just went kind of all in for a second. As I said, for a second, we would grind for a while, and then we would go back to being a degenerate, and then we would grind for, a little bit, and then we go back into it. So it was just oscillating, up and down between, my old self and my future self. And then eventually him giving up on the vision, on me, on the business, and just being done with everything. And telling me to leave, at the time I actually had to live at his house, because during this time, right here, actually around this time, like right before he gave up on me, I lost a lot. My house got sold, parents got divorced, mom was no idea where the fuck she is. It was not a good time in my life. And then he told me I needed to leave his house, and he was done with the agency and everything. So, and he gave me 2 weeks, I believe, at the time. And I'm gonna be honest, when I'm talking about these these actually happened recently to me, all these experiences. So I might be a little more emotional. Maybe later down the line, I won't be as angry about the situation, but I'm still pretty fucking pissed about it. You know, when your best friend of, 5 years, 6 years, let me think. How many years did we know each other, actually? Yeah, I know, 5 fucking years. Wow. Yeah. Best friend of 5 years tells you to leave his house, gives you 2 weeks. You have no money. You have to start selling stuff frantically, like, your boxing bag. Fucking, I sold my monitor. I sold so much stuff. When that happens to you, it breaks you. It makes you into a different person. That's the best way I can put it. But I'll get more in depth on that later down in the line, later down in those slides. But then after that, 3 weeks after that, signing my first high ticket client, or I think around the 3 weeks or a month after that, signing my first high ticket client. And then after doing that, getting a 9 to 5 and going through my trial by fire, which I'll explain what all that is at the end of the video. And yeah, I'm just gonna go really in depth on a lot of these stories. So yeah, super excited to share this with you guys. The whole point of me doing this entire video is, look, I want someone online, you know, they're going through hell. They stumble across this video, and if I'm talking to you right now and you're hearing this and you actually are out there and there's another person out there who's gone through fucking hell, you can do it. You can get out of the situation. You can change who you are fundamentally. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter what, quote unquote, you know, like, abilities you have. It doesn't matter about anything. It doesn't matter about, like, if you have fucking ADHD. It doesn't matter even if you have fucking autism. It doesn't matter. You could literally do anything you want. And I want this video to kind of be like a beacon of hope for those people, in a sense, because I didn't really know anybody else who had been in worse of a situation than mine, than maybe some of the people I looked up to. You know, like David Goggins had it pretty bad. You know, and some other fucking great ass guys out there, but I didn't have anybody who, you know, was younger, who was actually going through it and actually pulling through. I never saw that. I only saw a lot of, you know, young rich kids online making 10K a month. You know, they get to sit in their nice house and just grind on their laptop, and me over here, I'm trying to do the same thing, but I'm like, a lot of shit's happening in my life. Fucking everything's falling apart. I'm trying to keep it together mentally. And yeah, I just want to make this video for those types of people. So yeah, let's get right into it. So, who I was before my ego death, you know, who I was growing up. So I know I only have one image up here, and I'm gonna put a lot more images up while I'm speaking, videos up while I'm speaking if I can find more, but this was the only image I actually have of myself before the ego death when I was younger. This is actually something a lot of people don't know about me. I actually used to have extremely long hair. I had a crazy braid growing up. It's because my culture, like in Ecuador, that's just something they do over there. I wasn't really a fan of it growing up, so I had my hair cut when I was like 13. I did not like it at all. My dad was actually kind of cool with me getting it cut. For some odd reason, my mom at the time had a really big issue with it, but besides that, I don't know, I was basically an NPC, and I was also pretty privileged growing up. My dad was a doctor. He was making good money. I, you know, kind of get a lot of stuff. You know, in the beginning of my life, I was buying like stupid, like Supreme and fucking, like, I bought a bait mask at the time. I was one of those corny kids, you know, like cringy middle school kids, if you know what I mean. So it was like, that's kind of who I was back then. I had no real perception of who I was as a person, what I wanted to do with my life. I just knew the cycle was get up, go to school, get a job, graduate, you know, have kids, and die. That's what I thought my existence was going to be. And it started to weigh on me a little more and more as I was growing up. I remember one time specifically when I was in 5th grade, I got up and I looked around and I was like, why am I here? I remember asking myself that question a lot, like, why am I here? Why am I in this classroom? Who am I? What am I? And this feeling would hit me, this intense feeling of like, almost looking through my own eyes for a second. And this affected me actually later on in life, way more seriously. But I started feeling this odd sensation where I didn't know why I was there or who I was for like a split second. You know, I would kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, but I started kind of questioning things a little more and more, and started dabbling in a little bit of stuff. I started smoking weed occasionally in middle school, like once in a while with some friends, and then they started getting me into other stuff, and then eventually, you know, I went to high school, and I always just wanted people to think I was cool at the time when I was younger. That's why I would always buy that, you know, stupid ass fucking like, you know, hype beast clothing at the time. I hate even speaking that word, but you know what I mean. And yeah, I was just that type of kid, you know. And eventually I started hanging out with, you know, a different crowd of people. Started skating, you know, got into that for a little bit and started going down that. And then I remember I took mushrooms for the very first time. And that was a great time. It was actually with the business partner I'm about to talk about. Like, it was the first time I'd ever taken mushrooms was with him and his friend, and I had a great time. It was pretty intense. Every mushroom experience I've had has been very intense, but it was a cool time. You know, I just sat there and meditated and smiled and saw some cool colors and whatnot, and I didn't really learn about myself a lot, but it did feel like very spiritual in a sense, and I could feel like the I don't know, it just felt very ancient to me, and I respected that. But then at the same time, I didn't really respect it because I didn't understand what it was. I didn't really research mushrooms, what they were, if you could die from them, you know, the important shit you should actually look into if you're ever going to do something like that. And I never did that. I would just eat them, be like, oh, I'm just going to smoke weed and eat mushrooms, you know. I was like that. And I remember the first time after taking them, I really got into them. I took them. My memory gets a little fuzzy at this point. This is a long time ago. I'm 19 now, and this is when I was 14. But I remember I did them 2 weeks after the first time, I believe. And then after that, I took them, like, I think another week after that, like the next weekend, I took them again. And then I believe after that weekend, the next day, I decided to take some more. And that was the day the ego death happened. I'm not 100% sure. I may have taken them 3 days in a row, 3 weeks in a row, but I remember they were very close to each other, each experience. And the last one, that was the one that took the case. So I remember the first time I took like 2 grams of mushrooms. The second time I took around maybe 3, 4-ish, you know. And then the final time I took around 6. And yeah, but that was the type of kid I was before the ego death. I was very, I didn't really understand a lot. I didn't have a lot of gratitude in my life was a big thing. I didn't really understand, like, my dad had been through hell to get me here, and I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that I need to respect my grandma and grandpa more. They have limited time here, and I really need to take care of them and really, you know, be kind to them. And I didn't really understand that when I was super young. I was really spoiled. I was a picky eater, you know? Like, not eat the crusts on the pizza and like no vegetables. And I was that type of kid. But the ego death changed that for me. Well, changed everything for me, honestly, forever, permanently. Until this point in time, it still is affecting me. But yeah, let's talk about that. So, my ego death. I remember vividly, I was 14 years old at the time, and it was really windy and stormy that day. I just vividly remember this. I was outside skating in front of my house. We just moved into this nice brand new house, 2-story house, you know. Dad was making some good money at the time, and I was just waiting outside for, you know, the mushroom person to pull up, and I'm just skating out there, and you know, I go up to the car, I grab those baggy mushrooms, and I remember they were really long and like dark and stringy at the time. Like, they looked intense. Like, these ones looked crazy. And I was like, okay, shit, well, whatever. So I just go back inside, and I walked into the kitchen, and me and my mom just started arguing. Like usual. Like, at that age, we started bickering about small things. Like the stupidest thing, you know? We would just start arguing about it. And the argument, you know, got worse as, you know, it progressed, and it got to the point where I just said, fuck it, I'm done. And I just went to my room, slammed the door, and just pretended like I was gonna go to sleep. Alright? So, after that happens, I take the baggy mushrooms, right? And I just start, I remember I FaceTimed my good friend at the time. And I was talking about, like, yo, I'm gonna eat all these mushrooms. And he's like, holy shit, that's a lot. And I ate them all. And like I said before, I'd had previous experiences with mushrooms, but this was it. There's nothing that will ever top this in my life. In terms of being, like, spiritually intense, I don't think there's anything else. Like, obviously there's other things that will top this. There's, like, you know, there's crazier things that can happen to you in life, but, like, in a spiritual sense, there's nothing, I think, besides me actually dying or me being born. Like, those three events, ego death, being born, and dying, those are probably, like, the top three most spiritually intense, you know, things I've ever gone through, or will go through, you know, and have gone through, like birth. But besides the point, I ate all of them, all in one go, right? And I remember when I was 14, I was really small. Like, physically, I was fucking tiny. I remember the day I turned 5 foot. Like, that's how short I was at the time. And I was also really skinny, too. Like, I remember I ate all of these on an empty stomach. I didn't eat anything the whole day, and I just downed them all, right? And I started to kind of feel it, like, really quick, too. Like, within the first 15 minutes, I started to feel it. Like, and I remember it was great. That first hour was great, you know. I was just listening to Kanye, just dancing around my room, whatnot, you know, just looking at all the textures and patterns that were forming in the carpets and in the ceiling and in the walls. And then, I don't know what it was. I believe, because my memory is a little foggy from this. You know, there's certain points in the story where things are pretty fuzzy, but I do remember, you know, looking at the TV, and then the visuals from the TV started overlaying everything, and I started seeing, like, the same patterns everywhere, and they started getting super intense. And then I went to my bed, and I laid down in my bed, and I closed my eyes, and it was fucked. I was straight floating in a different space. So I opened them, and I started kind of freaking out. I get out of bed, and I remember I look to the window right next to my bed, and I kid you not, when I say this, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I see a garden gnome, little red hat, overalls, little shoes, the whole fucking, you know, the whole shebang, run across my front yard, just jogging, almost in slow motion, just across my front yard. And that's when I was like, oh my fuck, I'm done. What is happening to me? So I started to really panic, and I started to say some very negative affirmations to myself. Now, this was not a good thing I did. I probably shouldn't have started doing this, but I didn't even know. I was fucking 14 at the time. I didn't know shit about shit, right? So I started telling myself, like, yo, what is happening to me? I want this to stop. I remember I was pacing back and forth in my room. I was like, I need to go to sleep. I want this to stop. I really want this to end. I don't like this anymore. Like, what's happening to me? And it was really, really, really starting to freak me out. And I was like, I need this to really end. So I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna go upstairs and talk to my parents. So I leave my room, and as I'm walking out of my room, I'm starting to kind of get lost in my house. I remember the reason why I have actually this here is because I had a lot of stone architecture, and I'm also going to show on the screen some other stuff that I took from my old house. Just this one little sculpture from Ecuador, but I had a lot of stuff like that in my house. Amazonian, Mayan, Ecuadorian, I don't know, South American themed in a sense. And I also had a lot of other weird stuff in my house at the time. as well. But besides that, I was going through my house, getting kind of lost in the paintings and just looking at everything and kind of forgetting that I was freaking out in a sense. And then like I would remember, oh my God, what's happening to me? Like after I would kind of zone back into reality. And then eventually I made it to the stairs and I crawled up the stairs and I opened the sliding door to my parents' room, and I can really remember this. And I looked inside the room, peeked my head in, and I was like, hey Dad, I really don't feel good. My stomach really hurts and I kind of want to go to the hospital. I don't feel good. I think I have food poisoning, and I need to give you guys a little backstory on my dad. My dad, you know, came to this country with $200 in his pocket, you know, third world immigrant. He's probably the biggest inspiration in my life right now to me when it comes down to work ethic, and just a bunch of other stuff. But this kind of freaked me out, and it wasn't him, it was definitely the mushrooms. But I remember he opened his eyes and I saw him in the dark, and his eyes were green and they had slit pupils, and he smiled at me and he was like, go to sleep. And I know it was the mushrooms that were doing that. That fucking terrified me so bad to the point where I sprinted down the stairs, sprinted all the way through the house back into my room. Mind you, by the way, the whole time I'm in my undies, literally just in boxers, running around the house on fucking mushrooms, like acting crazy, right? Which, at the end of it, it did feel like I was crazy, but yeah. I remember I get back into my room and I start to look at like the walls and the TV and everything, and they all start to change into animals, and the animals keep changing into other animals, like constantly just changing into new animals. And it was just like everything was like formed. It was really, really hard to explain. But at this point, the visuals that I was seeing were completely almost overlaying my vision. So I could barely see in my room. And I remember I would close my eyes and I'd be in this like different space, and I'd open them and I would kind of see the different space, but I would still be in my room, you know? I was like half in, half out. It was really odd. And I started thinking, like, am I going blind? Am I gonna overdose? Like, I went to the bathroom and I tried to throw up, and I couldn't throw up. I tried so hard to throw up and I could not throw up. And I started thinking the thought of, is this it? Like, am I going to die? Like, am I just going to die in my room right now? And I started like genuinely begging to anything out there, any God, any sort of being out there, like, please, like, make this stop. Like, this is hell. Like, time didn't have relevancy for me anymore. This felt infinite in a sense. I don't know how I can put it into better words, but it felt infinite. So, like, this was just so intense at the time, you know, and I remember I tried to, like, you know, really just go to sleep. Like, I really tried to, and it just didn't work. And I remember I started crawling from my room into like my little brother's room. Like, I crawled from my room, and my memory is so fuzzy from this, but I go in there and I sit down on his carpet and I'm just staring at him. Bro's just asleep, by the way. And I also got to give some backstory. My little brother has Down syndrome. It's not severe. He can still function, you know, he can make his own food and stuff, but he has Down syndrome. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him, and I just started to freak out. And I was like, why, like, is this my, like, okay, so I started looking at him, and I was like, how do you perceive the world? I started thinking in my head. I started, like, less panicking. I just kind of zoned into him, and I was like, how do you see the world? Like, and I started to, like, just start crying. I started crying. I was like, I just kept saying, like, I'm sorry you have to go through this. I'm sorry you have to exist like this. I don't know why I was saying this, but for some odd reason, I felt like it was my fault that he was born the way he was born. And eventually, I, like, came to the conclusion that he was going to be okay. And I was like, it was such a weird experience, but I was just staring at him, and I was like, I felt so bad. I don't know why. I just felt terrible. And I just was like, I really hope you're going to be okay. I just hope you're going to be okay. I hope you're going to live a good life. I hope you don't have to ever go through anything like what I'm going through right now. Like, I just was staring at him in the carpet, and then the visuals are fucked at this point. And I remember they started like changing from like the patterns in my face, like blasting my face, into like bigger things. So I started feeling this extreme, deep, intense feeling in my head at the time. And I started thinking again back into the panicky thoughts. I started going back into that thought loop of like, am I gonna be sane after this? Am I gonna be okay? Am I gonna be normal after this? And the am I dying feeling kept coming back. Like, am I going to die? Like, it was not getting easier, by the way. It was getting more intense every minute that went by, or it felt like a fucking year. It literally felt like I lived years after this. It was unbelievable. But I remember laying back like on the carpet in his room, and I looked up into the ceiling, and the ceiling like opened up into like darkness. Like, it was just this hole in the fucking ceiling, and I was just looking at it, and I just thought, like, this is it. Like, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to die. My parents are going to come down here in the morning, and they're going to find my overdosed body on mushrooms, and that's going to be that, and it's going to be horrible, and why did I do this? I regret. This is the biggest regret in my life. Like, these were the thoughts I was thinking. I was like, this is horrible. Like, I'm never going to do this again if I survive. Like, I'm so grateful for everything. Like, and I just was like, I was fighting it. I was really fighting the feeling of death. Like, I didn't want to slip away. And then I started to feel this like slip in my consciousness, where the darkness that was over me started to coat everything. And I started to forget like who I was and where I was and what I was. And I kept trying to fight it. I was like, no, I'm Kiwa, you know, over and over and over again. And nothing seemed to work. Every thought I had was nothing to the mushrooms were fucking like, they were like, screw you. You're gonna go through this. There's no thought you're gonna have that's gonna prevent this. You're gonna go through this. And I just kept thinking in my head, like, I don't want to die. Like, this is horrible. Like, and god damn it, if I just done some research before this, I probably would have had a way better experience. But I legitimately thought this was it. I thought I was going to overdose. I didn't know you couldn't. So, you know. And I kept, like, you know, trying to fight this feeling of it. But at this point, I'm now in fetal position, freaking the fuck out. The darkness that was around me completely surrounded almost everything. I thought I was either blind or I didn't know where I was, you know, and I just closed my eyes and I just knew there was nothing I could do. I couldn't throw it up. It was in my system. It was in my brain. I just had to accept it. So I just laid back onto the ground, stared at the ceiling or just at the fucking gaping darkness in front of me, and I just accepted it. And I remember being in that darkness, like just in it. And the best way I can describe it is I felt infinite. It felt like I was in the place that I was at before I was born. This is where I was at before I was born. And then, boop, I'm born, you know? And like the feeling of that, there's no way I could even put it into words. Like, the best way I could say is I felt infinite. I felt like I'd been there for an infinite amount of time, or somewhere like that in a sense. But it was ridiculous. So I remember at this point, right, I have no idea who I am, where I am, what I am. I'm just in the dark. I'm just floating in the darkness, right? And the best way I could put it is like, it's felt like I'd been there forever. That's a good way to, like, I've literally been there forever, and I will always be here, you know? And I remember sitting in this dark, right? And I started to see these little blips of color in the distance, like these little like flourishes, like flourish. What the fuck am I saying? I knew that's a made up word. God damn it! Like these little like bulbs of light in a sense that were like multicolored, like floating around, you know. And they started to like mold into like little shapes and colors in the distance. And then out of fucking nowhere, this is one of the craziest things ever. Out of nowhere, the background of the darkness starts to like turn into almost Mayan architecture, like Amazonian Mayan art, like shit like this, you know. And this is the only, I've seen entities like another time on mushrooms after this, but that's for a different story. But this was probably the most vivid, extreme time I'd ever seen an entity on a psychedelic before. And I saw these like Mayan dudes, like Mayan, they look like average Mayan god, like kind of like this, but not like as freaky as this, obviously, you know. And they all were linked by elbows, like by elbows or arms, I remember. And they were just, like, their mouths were open and they were like chanting this like chant. Like, it was not English, it was not words, it was like a sound. And it was shooting at me. And it was like screaming at me. It was like ripping into me. It felt fucked. Like really intense. And it was in a language or in a frequency that I could only understand on mushrooms, or in that space in time. And the message was very simple that they were giving me. You haven't been living your truest purpose. You know? You've just been existing. You have not been living. And you are not grateful for any of the people in your life who have struggled to get you to where you are today. Your father, your grandparents, anyone else. And they were just like, I remember like they gave me the feeling of my grandma and grandpa dying. How bad it hurt. That's something I can really remember. And guys, by the way, I had to sit in my room and really sit and think for hours to even find pieces of memories from this story. I had to reach out to a lot of old friends and such who knew me back in the day and knew when this happened to see like, hey, am I getting everything accurate? So yeah, I just want to tell you guys that. But after this happened for I don't know how long, you know, time had no relevance to me. Eventually they faded off into the background, like the beings, and they looked very, very, very interesting. They had like jewelry, like they had earrings and like stuff in like their head and hair and like crazy designs all over them, and it looked like real. Like it didn't look like when people talk about like, oh, their mushroom experiences, like, oh, it's like cartoonish. It's like, no, this was like very vivid. This was very, very, very fucking vivid and real. Like it felt like it was like if you saw a Mayan god in person, in exact detail. Like it was that fucking detailed. It was very intense. And I remember like I got this feeling of just pain everywhere. It almost felt like after they faded off into the distance, it felt like I felt the suffering of everything. Heartbreak, you know, loss of a loved one, any like the deepest pain a human being can experience. I was feeling it, and it felt like I was feeling, it was like the weight of the entire world's just pain. All of the pain in the world was like dropped on me all at once, and it was like it destroyed my head for like however long I was feeling this. And I remember I just was like, I can't let anybody else feel this suffering, this anguish. I can't let it happen. And after this experience, I came to the conclusion like that I'm here to help people. I cannot let anybody go through, and people are going to go through hell in their lives, but like my job on this planet, the whole purpose I was put here is to help people at mass scale. I know people are suffering mentally with whatever battles they're fighting, and I know my truest purpose in life is to help those people get out of it, but not one at a fucking time. All right, I'm not going to be a goddamn lawyer, not a lawyer. I'm not going to be a goddamn therapist or anything like that. Like, I know I need to do this at mass scale. I know I need to do this, way bigger groups, at faster paces. I need to get this shit done. So that was the main conclusion I bring away from everything after the fact. But yeah, the feeling of it was very intense. It was like literally agony, heartbreak, sadness, death, despair. Like, all of the earth's negative energy was literally flowing through me. It was like the purest form of these feelings were going right through me, and it was so fucking painful. And I can actually say this is the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I got kidney stones later down the line, and I would go through that for the rest of my life. I would have kidney stones right now. I would literally stand up and go piss out a kidney stone right now, then go through that again. Like, no joke, that was fucked. It was probably the worst thing in the world that I could have experienced, but I'm glad I did experience it, because it gave me more of an understanding of how bad things can get, But it was so crazy. It felt like decades, years of time I was in this fucking space. And I remember slowly but surely, I don't know how long it had been, I don't know what time it was, but I remember I started slipping back into my old, like my body. I started to kind of, when this was happening, when I was coming back into my body, and I started feeling, like, I remember everything was still dark, but I could, like, feel my arms, my hands, and, like, my stomach, and I was, like, grabbing, like, my arms and, like, hugging myself in a sense, and I felt this, it was so crazy. I felt what it was like to be born. I remembered the feeling of birth, of what it was to be fresh and new again in the mind. And it literally was the memory of me being born. It was like the feeling of it all over again. Me just, coming out of my cocoon in a sense. I don't know how to explain it. It was so intense. And this feeling lasted God knows how long. And I remember, like, I started slipping back in, and the darkness started to fade a little bit, and I could kind of start to see the carpet on the ground, and then my arms, my hands, and I remember my phone was on the ground too. It was this, like, black square, and I reach towards it and I grab it, right? And I, like, pull it towards me, and I kind of, like, click it, I tap on it, and it, like, turns on, and I'm just staring at it. And then I turn it off, and I put it back in my pocket, and I'm still in my little brother's room at the time, and I'm still out. I'm done. My body is done. My soul, my mind, everything is fucking drained completely of every ounce of energy I could ever have. So I start crawling from my brother's room, which is really close to my room. Crawl through the hallway, get into my room. I remember I just, like, nudged the door closed. I don't even know what the fuck I was doing. I don't know where I was still. Barely understood who I was and what I was. And I just lay there and I rest. And I remember I'm just staring at the ceiling. And the only thought I have in my head is, like, what the fuck just happened to me? Mind you, I'm still tripping balls. Everything is still moving. Patterns and colors are still very fucking there. Very, very, very relevant. Very, very just right there, And then, after a while, pull out my phone again, and it's automatically in YouTube. and I just tapped on the first thing I saw, and I started watching it. And it was this Comedy Central like video, actually, and it was called Tales of the Trip. Such a very odd video to just pop up on my YouTube For You page at the time, but it was great. I remember I watched it, and in my head, like, I still didn't understand who I was really, where I was, what I was, but I remember seeing these like celebrities talking about their crazy experiences, and I just thought in my head, I was like, if they can get through it, I can get through it. If they can get through it, I can get through it. I was like, the first positive thought I had in a fucking while. But I was like, okay, this guy did DMT, you know, and that looks even crazier. So, and if he can do it, I can do it. And I was like, okay, there's more people that have been through this. A lot of other people have been through this, you know. It's the thoughts that were going through my head, and then boom, my fucking dad walks in. Just opens the door, comes in. I'm on the ground in my undies on my phone, on the carpet. And he's like, good morning. It's time to go to the doctor. And I, like the dumbass I was, actually had a doctor's appointment the next day. In the morning. And I had to go to that before school. So I get up and I just put clothes on. I don't even know if I put it on correctly. I just got the clothes on. And my dad, like, he probably just thought I was tired. I got no sleep. Like 100%. There's no way I got sleep. Like, maybe I was sleeping when I was in that fucking different dimension or whatnot, but I just did not have sleep. And like, we get up, we get in the car, and we start driving to the doctor's office. And then I remember I get in there, and I just didn't speak the whole drive, you know. And they start doing just the normal routine on me when I get into the doctor's office, you know, measuring my height, weight, blood pressure, all that. And the doctor, you know, asked for my date of birth and name, and then I froze. Like, I had no idea what to say. And my dad actually spoke for me, and he was like, you know, I just said my name and laughed it off. The doctor, like, looks at me a little weird, and he's like, yo, why is your blood pressure, like, super high? And I just said, like, I was like, I didn't get sleep. The only words that left I was like, I just didn't get sleep. And I remember I was staring at the floor in the doctor's office, and it's still moving really fucking intensely. I'm still feeling it. Like, I'm still really feeling it. Like, it's not going away. And I'm like, fuck, why isn't this going away? Like, in the past, this went away. Why is it? It's just stuck. Like, I'm just stuck like this. And then my dad drops me off, and I just said, like, bye to him. I didn't really say much. And I remember I walked into class exhausted, and I tripped right as I walked in class, and I just fell straight on the fucking ground. And then my friend comes over and he helps me up, and the teacher, like, asked me, he's like, yo, what's up? And I was like, I just tripped, you know. And I definitely tripped because I was fucking out of it. But my friend, you know, asked me, he's like, yo, what's up? What's wrong with you? Like, you look fucking destroyed. Like, what did you do? Like, what happened to you last night? And this was the same friend I FaceTimed, by the way. So he knew I'd taken the mushrooms, and I just started telling him everything. Whole story. At this point, I understood my name is Kiwa, I'm 14 years old. Like, I'd already repeated that to myself in my head a good amount of the time. But as I'm telling them all this stuff, I'm like, everything is still moving. Like, you guys are still moving. Like, everything is, like, I'm starting to hear, like, small little blips of voices in the distance, in my ears, like, in my ears. It literally felt like it was inside of my fucking ears, like these small voices and random auditory, like, hallucinations. And I didn't understand this at the time, but this literally lasted for 1.5 years after this. So all the other stories and stuff I'm going to be telling you, I was still on mushrooms when all of that stuff was happening, until, surprisingly enough, when I was being a degenerate, I took some LSD, and it made my brain feel a little better, which was odd, even though that experience was crazy, and I'll get into that later, but very odd. And then after that, I told myself I needed to face my fear with mushrooms again, and I took them again. And it was an amazing time. I started understanding them more. I did so much research after this during quarantine on mushrooms and what they were for, what they were used for in the past, you know, the historic significance of them. And I learned more about them. I learned that I was just using them in the worst fucking way possible. I didn't understand them. I didn't understand it was an ancient thing that needs to be respected. And yeah. But at this point, it was like I had opened my third eye to everything, and it would not fucking close. It refused. It was like everything was still moving. I was still getting these like profound thoughts in my head, like randomly, and I was just like, what the fuck? And I remember later on in that day, I walked into the gym, and I was just sitting, like, the whole day I was thinking to myself, like, is this it forever? Like, am I gonna be like this forever? Like, am I gonna have to just get this under control? And I remember the fluorescent lights were fucked in the gym. They were just blinding. The buzzing of them was just unbearable. So for the rest of that year, and I think the next year after that, I started just sitting out and saying I had terrible migraines. I would sometimes make myself go throw up and say I was sick. You know, I would make myself look sick just so I didn't have to, like, do anything. Because, like, it felt like my brain was just destroyed after this, you know? And my grades did start to decline pretty bad. I had no idea how to even talk about this with anyone I knew, besides maybe kids my age. But I couldn't talk to my parents about this. I couldn't talk to my teachers about this. At the time, I didn't really talk to my grandma and grandpa about this because I didn't really get to know them that well back then. And it was, like, really intense. Or I think I may have told them. My memory is very spotty, by the way, from this time frame. But I may have told my grandma and grandpa. But, you know, after around 4 months of hell in school after this experience, we actually all went into lockdown. And quarantine started. And yeah, very, very, very intense. But yeah, let's go into quarantine. So quarantine for me was basically some images. I'm gonna throw more images up as I talk and videos possibly, but this was my room in quarantine. This was like kind of like, I don't have a lot of photos of my old house. This was like the 2-story house. Like I had like the whole setup, you know, all this crazy stuff. Like I have Versace cologne, you know, Air Forces, a TV. You know, I was that type of kid. You know, everything was all right for me in the beginning. But, you know, during quarantine, you know, like right when it started, I tried fighting off these hallucinations. They were getting way worse. And at this point, I did start to see things that were not there. So my mom, I need to tell you about this. She got really scared of quarantine. She got really scared of COVID specifically. And it freaked her out really. She was like cleaning fruits and vegetables with alcohol. Like she actually didn't let me leave my house for 3 months. I had to stay indoors 3 or 4 months. And I remember all my friends, like, they didn't give a fuck about COVID. They were out skating. I just wanted to go out with them, but I couldn't. And it sucked. And they would literally come over to my house and, like, knock my windows and shit and be like, let's go. And I couldn't. And it sucked. And it was just terrible. But I remember I just stopped caring about everything in quarantine. Like, my mom didn't let me leave. I started just drinking horrendous amounts of energy drinks, G Fuel, whatnot, and I stopped eating at a certain point in time. I got really skinny. My grandma and grandpa, I remember they saw me at one point and they were like, what the fuck? Like, I looked scarily skinny. I think I got to like 90 pounds in quarantine or something. It was bad. And something I'd never really like experienced before all of this whole experience was intrusive thoughts. So they started becoming like a daily occurrence, and I didn't know why it was happening, like why they were happening to me. I was like, am I a terrible person? Like, why am I thinking this? Like, am I a psychopath? And I didn't understand that I'm not my thoughts. I'm the one that observes them. I take the actions on my thoughts. If I take an action on an evil thought, I'm an evil person. I didn't get that at the time. So I was just like freaking the fuck out, like thinking, why am I thinking all this, right? And it was mentally hell, you know, to get through just the day. Because I didn't know why I was thinking the thoughts I was thinking. Going to sleep at night was horrifying, because I would have to get up and go to the bathroom on occasion, and I would see something out of the corner of my eye, or see a person looking at me. Like, I remember I'd see people in my little brother's closet, I would see people in my closet, I would see people's heads dart around corners real quick. I felt like they were staring at me, and it was terrifying. But I remember I just tried to escape my entire reality of everything by just playing video games. So I spent a majority of my quarantine playing video games. I racked up 5,000 hours in like a couple months of Rainbow Six Siege. I just really got into that, and at the time, you know, I told you guys, like, my mom started to act a little odd, you know, not letting me leave the house, cleaning the food with crazy stuff, you know, all that. And I remember, like, with escaping my reality, I started actually taking edibles, and just smoking, like, weed once in a while. Like, I remember I had a weed cart before I went into quarantine, and I bring that along with me into my room. And then eventually, after a couple months, I started feeling these, like, pains in my stomach. And one day, it got, like, so bad that, like, I couldn't even leave my bed. It was, like, it was, like, agony, right? And I just didn't know why this was happening. And it was obvious. I wasn't fucking eating or drinking, and I was just having energy drinks and this and that. But it felt like I was getting stabbed, like, in the stomach. And eventually, I started getting up every day, and I started just peeing blood every morning. And it got to a point where, like, I felt like I needed to go pee, but I couldn't. And then when I would, it would just be straight blood. It was horrible, right? And I did not know what was happening to me. I couldn't go to a hospital because we were still in quarantine. My mom didn't, like, really want me to, but they were also, like, she wanted me to, but she was also freaked out about it. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I eventually figured out it was kidney stones. I had extremely huge fucking kidney stones in my kidneys and in, like, the tubes between my kidney and bladder that were just cutting me up internally. And they were also, like, plugging the holes, like, in my kidneys. And it was just bad. It was just terrible. But I was, like, going through in that in quarantine. And I remember the first day I stepped outside to see the trees and the sky and everything. I remember I looked outside and the whole earth started to move. Like I could feel the earth moving. And everything just started to flow. Like the bark in the trees started to move, and the leaves started to move all crazy, and I looked down at the floor and I started seeing patterns in the floor again, and I started getting that dreadful, panicky feeling again. And imagine you go outside and everything looks like a Van Gogh painting. Maybe not to that extreme, but very, very, very close to it. It was terrifying. Started thinking, like, you know, again, like, will this ever go away? And these thoughts that I was having, you are what you think, and you are what you say. And I didn't know this at the time, but it was just terrible for myself, you know? And I'm thinking, like, am I permanently going to be like this? Like, those thoughts were not benefiting me at all. And the hallucinations that I were having were actually getting worse each month into quarantine. And eventually, I actually started losing my grip on reality. So me and my mom at this point in time were constantly fighting, like screaming at each other every single day about the quote-unquote rules of the house and how dangerous COVID really was. And, you know, my stance on it was like, fuck this bullshit ass, if this thing isn't even real, like, it's not gonna hurt me, I'm not gonna die from it, just let me go outside. I need to fucking I need to get sunlight, you know? And eventually I just stopped giving a shit. I remember growing up, I really cared about her feelings and her, like, rules and thoughts in the house and all that. And, like, at this point, I just was done. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I remember I took the screen off my window and just hopped through my window, started hanging out with friends, skateboarding, and it got better. But on occasion, I would have to go home really quick. Like, I would be out with friends, skating at UNM, and I would just get this intense feeling. I started feeling like less connected to my body, you know, and things would start moving a lot more crazy. The patterns and everything started going crazy, and I just would be like, I need to go home. And each time this would happen, this started actually happening, you know, like over and over, this cycle of me going out and having to go home. I would get into my bed at home, and I would just get in bed and I would just start shaking, like violently shaking. And I would just start seeing visions in my bed, and like I remember like things would get really bright. I started seeing like white lights occasionally, like my vision was overlaid with whiteness, and it was insane. I was literally in my bed, I'd be shaking really bad. I remember I would just be shaking, having cold sweats in my bed, and at the time I was like, I'm having panic attacks. I'm blaming it on panic attacks. I'm like, I'm just having a panic attack. And I told my parents, I was like, yeah, I'm just having panic attacks, and I'm really anxious. I'm having really bad anxiety. I didn't even know what anxiety was at the time, but I was like, is this what people feel like anxiety? Is this what anxiety is? And for me, I'll talk about this later down, you know, in the slides, about how I overcame this belief of anxiety and depression. But eventually, during this whole time, I just broke. I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't just keep what happened to me a secret. You know, I couldn't do it. The weight of it was destroying me. So I just told my mom and my dad. I told my mom, and she didn't tell my dad, actually, for a while. And I was just so scared of being judged at the time. Really, I was just like, I remember when she caught me with weed, and that was hell. And I was like, this is gonna even be worse. But, you know, she told me, she was just like, it'll just go away. You'll be fine. Like, she didn't really understand what I was going through. Like, she was just like, you'll be fine. It'll go away. Just calm down, you know? And after a few months of this, you know, the shaking in the bed, like, my parents started getting a little, you know, worried. So they sent me to a doctor. And the doctor basically helped affirm the belief that I was, you know, depressed and had anxiety, quote, I'm literally doing air quotes right now. And, what was it? Depersonalization. Yeah, they said I had like depersonalization disorder or whatever. Some bullshit label, you know, they try to throw on you to get you on meds, which they actually did do. They gave me meds. I remember I took, was it Zoloft or something? And that shit made me feel 20 times more intense. Maybe literally started getting intrusive thoughts of wanting to like kill myself that week. And having the belief plus the medication straight up caused me to spiral down into like the worst negative feedback loop that I could have in my life of just suicidal ideation, self-harm. And over the next like a year and a half to 2 years, like having those beliefs almost killed me, you know, served me horribly in a sense. So during quarantine, I kind of lost my shit, you know, with hearing and seeing stuff constantly, and your mom is screaming at you and you're telling her like you're the crazy one, you're the one cleaning fucking fruits and vegetables with 99% alcohol, and then she's telling you you're the crazy one, you think COVID isn't real. And then I remember my mom would tell me during quarantine that I was the one that was going insane and she was completely fine. And she continued this belief with me up until she left, actually, where she would tell me and tell the world that everyone else was crazy and she was the one that was completely fine and sane. And such a weird experience. But yeah, that was quarantine for me. A really, really, really intense period in my life. Mentally, I was everywhere, very scattered. And I remember the only reason I didn't give in to the belief of seeing the things that weren't there and didn't think I'm like schizophrenic or anything is because I thought to myself, if I see something that's not there, or if I see something and I know in my head it's not real, but it looks real, as long as it can't touch me, I'm fine. I could see the worst, most terrifying thing in my room standing over me, and I'll just look at it. And if it touches me, then I can freak the fuck out. And, freak out. But if it doesn't even physically touch me, if I like run towards it and it disappears or something, or if I look at it and it disappears, then why should I give it power over me? So I started thinking that way about that. Now, I should have thought that way about every other thing that the doctors were telling me, but I thought about it in that, about that stuff. Because that stuff was really weighing me down. And if I believed in what I saw, I would have lost my fucking mind. But I refused. I couldn't let it happen. And eventually, over time, like, one of the thoughts in quarantine that I was having over and over was like, I knew there was something up with my mom. And even after quarantine, like, I knew that she was kind of losing it. And the biggest thought I always had was like, I can't go crazy like her. I can't lose my mind like her. I can't let it happen. It's not gonna, I just told myself it's not going to happen. And in doing that helped me a little bit too. Like using her as an example of a person I never want to be like, but still is tough, Still was hard. Also, I don't know if these images are from quarantine, but they're just photos of my room, and that's basically where I lived during quarantine. But yeah, let's go into going back to school and getting canceled. So yeah. So going back into school, getting canceled, and just regular life / just health problems I was dealing with at the time. So after I kind of go back into school, I'm settling back in and everything in a sense, just hanging out with friends, smoking weed, partying, just going in and out of stuff. The pain of the kidney stones was really still affecting me pretty badly. So I actually just decided, like, we went to go get it checked out, and I actually got surgery for them. So I've been doing personally way better since that event. But still at this point, still hearing and seeing stuff, I still don't feel as real as I used to. Still pretty intense, and only a select few people are going to actually know what this is. I'm going to talk about this when I got canceled, because I started giving zero fucks after I got canceled. Like, after I got canceled, that was it. I didn't give a fuck about what people thought of me anymore. What I posted, anything. I just was like, I'm done. I am done. I'm done with everybody. So, yeah, it was a weird time in my life, kind of going back into school. I remembered something that didn't affect me before and started really hitting hard every single day was this like overflow of constant thoughts and information that would just go into my head when I was alone. So I started like coping with that by hanging out with people a lot, and just started surrounding myself by as many people as I could, constantly hanging out with them. And I always just needed that thought train to stop. So I started smoking weed, way more occasionally with friends. I would go to parties, and I started kind of getting into being a degenerate, like kinda, but also not really. I was just kind of like a American high schooler, before the cancellation. And at the time, like, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I knew I was put on this earth to help people. And I just didn't really, like, I was putting it off. I'm gonna be honest, I was putting it off. I just was like, nah, I'm gonna just be young and dumb, just do what I want when I'm a fucking teenager. And once I turn 18, I remember me and my best friend at the time, we were literally talking about this. We'd be like, well, right when we turn 18, we're locking in. We're locking in on all of this. We're gonna go fucking in on like a business. Like, we wanted to just make money, but my why for making money was to help people, at mass scale. How do you help people at mass scale? You need a fucking ton of capital, right? You can't solve world hunger with a couple $100s, or some huge major problem like that. But for me, it was to help people. And we didn't know a thing about online business, but we did know we wanted to start a business, and that was the way to make money. That was the most high leverage way to make money. We knew it. We didn't really know a ton about like fucking stocks or whatnot or any other way of making money. It was just business. That was it. Pretty broad term, but we said we're going to do that right when we turned 18. And I do know, like, if I did start my business when I was 14 or 15, I'd probably be like 50K a month or something crazy right now, you know? But I also think, like, damn, I have all these stories. I have crazy fucking stories from when I was a kid. Like, ridiculous. And a lot of these guys who are starting business, like, that are super young, you know, getting into self-improvement, they're going to have some stories for sure, but they're probably not going to have, like, stories to the extent of mine or other people who've just gone through hell before they, like, started working on themselves and their business, because all they were doing growing up was meditating, exercising, and working on a company, you know? But, you know, to each their own. Everyone has their own life, but I do think that I'm grateful for the stuff that's happened to me in a sense, even though it does fucking suck. And I don't want any sort of pity from anyone, from all the stories I'm telling you guys. I don't want a single ounce of pity. I'm happy this shit happened to me. I'm grateful for it. Like, that's just how it is. But, yeah. So one day I'm at school, right? And I'm not paying attention like usual, you know, just not really giving a fuck about school, you know, trying to keep my mind under control. And then I heard one of my friends had been jumped at lunch by a couple kids. So when you're 15 to 16 years old and you have a guy friend group and one of your friends gets, you know, beat up, the only thing you want to do in that moment is beat the fuck out of those kids who beat up your friend. Especially if it was over something stupid, which it was. It was over the dumbest shit on earth. Like, I'm not gonna tell you guys what it's about, because I'm not trying to, like, you know, bring his name into anything. Like, no names will be said this entire time, but, like, man, it was stupid as fuck. He, like, just said some dumb shit at lunch, and they got mad at him for it. Like, it literally, I think he said, like, a meme to them at the time. And it was just think about it like that. Like, he said a meme to them. Nothing racist, nothing hard-hitting, just a fucking meme. And they got pissed, and they beat his ass. Like, it was crazy. It was so fucking dumb. But, you know, yeah, the only thing I wanted to do was just beat the fuck out of those kids. So, later that day, you know, after school ends, me and my friend group were walking around, and we see one of the kids who did it, right? We go up, and there's some confrontation, and the kid decides to run off and get in his car and drive away. So we're like, damn. So, okay, we're like, okay. At the time, we had our cars parked in a different parking lot, so we're walking through the parking lot over to this other building that we had our cars parked at. And we see this other kid, like the other kid who did it, and I want to paint the picture for you guys. This kid is so much smaller than us. One of my friends was like, two of my friends were like almost 6 foot, you know? And this kid was like 4 or something, 5 foot maybe. 5'3". Like, he was fucking tiny, right? This kid was short. And one of my friends, you know, exchanges a few words with the kid. And this little fucker just stops. And then sprints full speed towards us, running. And just starts wailing on my friend, just starts punching him over and over and over again. And look, my friend's tall as fuck, so immediately after he gets hit a couple times, he grabs the kid by the head and pushes the kid's head away, and the kid's just trying to swing at him, and he's like hitting him a couple times, he's like pushing him away. And after a minute of this, my friend just says, fuck this shit. I can just tell you, mentally, he's just like, fuck this, let's go to the kid's head, and, you know, whoops the kid's ass. You got a 6 foot guy against like a 5 foot person who is like relatively small. Like, my friend was long as fuck, had long arms and everything. The kid was done, right? So wins the fight, nothing crazy, nothing serious, you know. Give the kid a good couple punches to the head. Apparently the kid went to the hospital after for a mild concussion. I don't even know if that story's real, because the kid also said that I picked him up and slammed him on the ground and like broke his ribs or something crazy. Like, the amount of shit that came after this was like, it's like a huge game of telephone, except everyone's retarded. It was hilarious. So yeah, And that's really that, you know? We walk away. I remember some people were yelling at us, this and that. I had some guy that came up to me and was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Dude, fuck this kid. What do you mean, what am I doing? Like, my friend's doing what he needs to do, you know?" And we're walking away, right? And I remember one of my friends, he looks at me, he looks at us, and he's like, "Don't you think that kid looked a little weird?" And I sit there, I'm walking, and I'm like, "Bro, what do you mean?" And he's like, "No, that kid looked a little odd. I don't know. Do you think he could have been like gay or something, or like trans or something?" And I'm like, "What? No, what the fuck?" Mind you, this kid had a full fucking beard, full facial hair. We had zero idea that this kid was transgender. That's how good this kid was fucking hiding it. And you know what's the craziest thing about this whole thing? This is what I like to think about. Imagine my friend didn't want to fight this kid because he was transgender and knew about it. That would have been more transphobic, right? Than not fighting him and treating him like the man he wanted to be. Isn't that crazy? But I guess the kid was salty that he lost the fight, and rumors started to spread. We had no idea about this, but ooh, we were in for it. So 2 weeks later, after this happens, I completely forgot about the whole situation. I'm like, oh, fucking random fight, it is what it is. 2 weeks later, I'm just minding my old business. I don't even know what I was doing. And I just got a notification on my phone. A little ding, you know, it says you were mentioned in a story. I'm like, that's okay, whatever. I tap on it, and it says my name, my username on Instagram, all my friends' usernames, and then like just some text saying that we targeted a student at the school because they were transgender and that we committed a hate crime. We had, by the end of the day, 5 to 6 new posts, all of our names, all of our usernames, everything, saying that we were 1, transphobic, 2, homophobic, 3, racist. It was every phobic you could hit us with, they were hitting us with. I had a girl call me xenophobic. I had no idea what the fuck that even meant at the time. It was ridiculous. So initially I laughed. Initially, the first day this happened, like all the posts were happening, I was like, this is fucking hilarious. No one's gonna believe this shit. This is the dumbest shit on earth. Like, who's just gonna believe someone's word, you know, and not actually see the evidence? Little did I know, everyone is stupid and everyone already does that. People watch the fucking news, will believe something and not actually look into it. I forgot that. I forgot that everyone already does that. So when they heard about this, oh my god, it was like sharks when they smell blood. Like, they just went fucking crazy. So I go to school, right, the next day. And the day before, like when the post started happening, I laughed about it, you know, I was like, it is what it is. I started actually receiving some death threats that day. And this is the funniest thing, most of them were from hood kids. Not even like associated with this person, straight just like kids that like are in fucking gangs and shit. Texting me, they're gonna shoot me, they're gonna shoot up my house, they're gonna stab me, they're gonna beat the fuck out of me. All this shit. I'm like, yo, why do you guys even care about this guy, this person, or whatever the fuck they were? Like, why do you even give a shit, first of all? And I think anyone who goes to like an American high school knows who I'm talking about, like the types of like kids who just will crash out over everything, you know? Those types of people. They're just stupid. They just don't do shit all day. They take Xans all day or whatever the fuck they do. And they walk around with a gun because they think it makes them, you know, cool or whatever the fuck. And they wear all red jumpsuits or all blue jumpsuits or all fucking cookies jumpsuits. I don't know, just some gay ass outfits all the time. And then they try to act hard, quote unquote. And they really, they don't have a lot going for them. But they're saying they're gonna shoot my fucking house up, stab me, beat the fuck out of me, all this stuff, right? And usually if I were like in goddamn any other area, I probably wouldn't have cared. But at the time, I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And look, if you're from there, you know what it's like over there. Like, there are some pretty crazy people over there. And there's some pretty crazy kids over there. So, and like I said before, like they were saying the craziest stuff about me. Like I said, everything with the ending phobic, they called me, in a sense. It was hilarious. But the next day, when I get to school, right, I already knew I'm fucked. I'm cooked. All my friends started to get this feeling too. And the craziest thing is, I actually had some friends before that actually cut off our whole friend group. It was like me and like 3 other dudes or something. And the rest of them just completely stopped talking to us, never spoke to us ever again. We had some people not talk to us for a while, then start talking to us again because of how bad it was, quote unquote, which was stupid. It's like, they never were really our friends initially. And it's kind of scary how this can happen to anyone. You could just get canceled. I could get canceled again for this very video. The people who were part of this whole thing may or may not watch this video, and they may or may not get really pissed and try to cancel me again. It is what it is. It's kind of a scary world. It happens, but if it does happen again, bring it on. I really don't give a fuck anymore. So, yeah. We get to school, and when I tell you, everyone at school, they were fucking staring at us when we walked in. I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't the feeling of, oh, some people were looking at us. No, we walked into school and people were looking at us. Weird. Same day, a couple chicks came up to us. Like, I already expected this was gonna happen. I was like, there's gonna be some fucking retarded bitches that are gonna come up to us and start screaming and this and that. And they did. And they called us homophobic and yelled at us. I think a girl tried to smack my food out of my hand or something. I was just like, whatever. You guys, I don't care if the stupid people hate me. Alright? Maybe the sensible adults can, be cool with it. And I remember we were in and out of the office because of the whole fight, because I was involved. I had to talk to the fucking dean about it. And the craziest thing was, everyone hated us. This includes the staff, the teachers, everyone, most of the students. Literally saying that we were like the spawn of Satan, like we were evil. Like, they were saying that it was funny, they said that we were racist. Half of the friend group that I was in was like straight minorities. Like, fucking, it was dumb. Like, I don't understand it, but two of us are fucking Jewish in a sense, because our parents are, but I don't know, it was dumb. The whole situation was dumb. But I literally remember being in class that same day and hearing my teacher, I'm not sure if it was social studies or if it was history, it was one of the two, I remember, but my teacher was literally talking about the situation and about how a bunch of students, and then he looked at me, beat up a transgender. And I stood up and I was done. I was like, I remember I either said you're fucking stupid or something along the, I was just like, you're fucking dumb. You're hearing something and you're believing it. And you're not actually looking at the evidence of it. And he didn't give a fuck. And I walked out of class. And it's pretty easy to say that, like, the staff at Albuquerque High, and Albuquerque Public Schools don't really, like, think logically about things. Maybe they do now. It's been a couple years. But I do know a lot of the same staff is still at that school. But they don't really think with their brains. And when they hear information, they just act on it without any actual evidence or proof. It's pretty fucking crazy how most people do this too. They don't actually try to find evidence of something happening. They just assume and they just, label you immediately. So, at the same time that all this is happening, the initial kid, right, who started the whole thing, started spreading all the rumors and all that bullshit, was actually trying to press charges and was telling everyone he was going to press charges against us, which was fucking hilarious, because one of my friend's parents were lawyers, and after he found out about that, I don't think he tried to press charges anymore, because he knew he was going to fucking lose horribly. But it was hilarious. I remember I was in the office and the dean was telling me, this kid's gonna press charges on you, and I was like, do it. And the craziest thing is they actually get footage of the whole situation, but they refused to let it out. And I was like, let it out. It's gonna show that this kid started it. This kid ran up to my friend and started swinging on him. This is not gonna show that we targeted this kid, but no, he didn't release shit. And we stayed completely fucked and completely canceled. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. And this is what happens when you literally have a soft societal infrastructure, soft ass people, and then you also have people who love to gossip. This is the America we're in right now, currently, right now, in this very moment. So a few weeks after this happened, I actually went to a high school football game, and one of my friends at the time spotted one of the kids who jumped my friend. And this was the guy who ran away to his truck or to his car or whatever initially, the first kid, right? Not the little guy. So he was like, I'm gonna run a one-on-one on this kid. I'm gonna fight him one-on-one. Let's go. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, all right. And we start walking to the parking lot. I'm following him, and I'm like, all right, bet. Let's see this happen, And I'm a very outgoing guy, very. And as I'm following him into the parking lot, I start to see like a subgroup of people. They're like behind me, and started gathering behind me, and I'm walking. I start to see some more people gather behind me, and I'm like, oh, bet they're probably gonna come watch the fight. Fuck yeah. So I turn around. I'm like, yo, what's good? My friend's about to fight someone, and right as I'm saying that, this chick, and I don't know if this is offensive. I don't know if this dyke chick, short hair, looks like she rode a motorcycle, maybe. I don't know. She comes up and she straight punches me right in the face. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck happened? What's happening right now? And I look at them all, and I'm like, do I punch her back? No. Wait, I can't do that. I'm already fucking canceled. Whoa. So I'm not gonna hit this girl, right? I step back immediately. I'm like, nah, I'm not hitting you. What the fuck are you guys doing? And then they were like, and it was hilarious. It was a bunch of hood kids, actually. Like, she had her hat backwards or whatever. And they were like, you jumped a gay kid in the bathroom, so we're gonna fuck you up. That was basically the gist of what they said. And, very typical low IQ behavior right there. And I was like, first of all, y'all got the location wrong. Second of all, I didn't jump anybody. Do you guys want me to explain the situation? They were not having it. They did not want me to explain shit. And then I was like, fuck this. I will fight one of you guys one-on-one right now. Let's go. I'm not getting jumped by 6 people. Fuck that shit. I'm not getting jumped. I'd seen those goddamn Twitter videos. People get cooked. I am not about to let that happen to me. So they didn't give a fuck. They were still about to jump me. They were trying to fucking jump me. I was backing up. I was not about to do it. And yeah. So in that situation, I did the best thing I thought I could do. So I just started fucking sprinting. Straight running. Now, thankfully, most of the kids in the crowd, and this is not an exaggeration, were overweight as fuck. These were fat fucking people. It was hilarious. A bunch of fat people trying to jump me. So I was like, okay, maybe I could piece one up, but then like the other one's gonna fucking probably hit me. And there's like 6 of them. There's 6 on 1. It's fucked. And then there was one pretty athletic dude. And I was looking at him mainly because the rest of them were a bunch of Goombas. So I was like, fuck, okay. I'll be good, all right? I'll be fine. So I start running, right? And like I said, most of them couldn't keep up with me running, besides that one kid. As I'm running, like I literally was sprinting, like, because that one kid was on my ass, and then they all, like, I'd be running, and then more people would run in trying to, like, get at me. It was crazy. Like, it was, like, maybe more than 6 people. And I'm running, I find 2 of my friends who are really about it, all right? They are fucking down for a fight, They're already ready for one. And they're like, what the fuck's happening? And I'm like, these kids are trying to jump me. And they're like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. Let's get it. So at this point, there's 2 groups of kids. My friend group, which is around 5-6 people, and their friend group, which is maybe 5-6, maybe a little more, right? And the only thing separating us is a staff member who's holding one of the kids back and, like, trying to calm everybody down. And one of my friends just decides to start talking mad shit towards the kid who's getting held. And this kid breaks free and runs at us. And that results in a mass fucking brawl. This shit was crazy. Ended up, one of the kids on their side got kicked in the fucking head. It was unbelievable. I remember I was on the ground, like, rolling around with this one kid. Like, he was punching me, I was punching him. Some girls running up to me, like, hitting me with their fucking sandals, screaming at me. Like, oh my god, it was crazy, right? Miraculously, though, at the end, we didn't have any marks on us. I think I had a couple of scratches on my elbows from being on the ground, but that was it. And one of my friends had like a little swelling under his eye, but besides that, that was it. It was a pretty crazy fight. So after all of that shit happens, right? After the huge fight in the parking lot happens, we break up. It was kind of crazy. Like, the groups break up, we get back to our car, we all hop in our car, we're trying to get out. There's like a huge line of cars. I remember when the whole fight was happening, people were honking on their horns, parents are screaming. It was literally chaos, right? We get in our car and we look, and these kids are speaking to the Albuquerque Police Department that pulled up. They're straight just speaking, pointing. I'm like, damn. I thought these kids were like hated snitches, and they're straight just spilling the beans on us. And actually, my friend got expelled for this because they snitched on him. One of my friends did, which is hilarious because we didn't say a single name the whole time. We were like, I didn't even say I was there, and maybe I wasn't. This whole story is hypothetical, remember? But yeah, it was fucking ridiculous. And right after that, happened, we were fucked. It got way fucking worse. Like, we were so beyond paranoid. Like, we were going into the bathrooms at school in pairs. Literally right after that happened, the death threats got even more worse. I got death threats from even worse people. Like, I also was just texting people. Like, people would text me like, fuck you, or see I get mentioned in a story, and I would text them the whole story. I wouldn't hold back. I actually had a couple people take down their stories. And if they're watching this video, you guys have logic. Alright? Thank you guys. For everyone else, fuck you. I don't fucking like you. Still, if you guys still think the same way as you do back in high school with I hear something, I believe it immediately, and then I ruin someone's life over it, then you're dumb. Okay? But yeah, we're going to bathrooms in pairs. Shit was just not looking good. Death threats increased, and at this point in time, my grades were fucked. Like, they were pretty bad before. They were all right. They were like C's and D's. I was like failing every class at this point because my brain was everywhere. I was still hearing and seeing shit, right? Hearing little blips of voices in my fucking ears. At the same time, I have just been canceled. I just went through quarantine. I feel like crazy, weird, and shaky, and see visions on occasion. Like, I'm losing it. And then I get these guys try to jump me over some shit I didn't even do. Hilarious fucking story. And no one at the school respected me or gave a fuck about me. Or, like, the staff, terrible. Horrible. So I just dropped out. I said, fuck it. I'm not gonna get any help with any of this. I'm just gonna drop out and just get my life started. Fuck all of you guys. I'll have my GED by, like, the end of the year. That's kind of the mental framework I had around it. I was like, I'm gonna drop out, I'm gonna get my GED. And at the time, my parents still wanted me to go to college. But in my head, I was like, I'm not gonna go to college, but then they wanted me to go to college, and I was like, fuck. I was like really conflicted between the two, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I was put on this earth for, but yeah, I dropped out. I was done. I couldn't deal with it. And when I was getting canceled, in the heat of it all, it was hilarious. Me and my friends were trolling the fuck out of these people. I remember they would post on their stories, like, saying there were hate crimes, they're homophobic, and I posted this on my story, and like they all saw, and then it got worse, and then they were calling us racist, homophobic. I remember I took a photo of me laying with my friend, like, as a joke, and we posted on my story, and it's like me and him, like, arms around each other, and we put like homophobic in quotes on my story. It was hilarious. It was fucking hilarious. And yeah, that's what happens when you don't do shit, really. I mean, I don't even know. Like, that shit just happens, I guess. But it was a fucking great story. It was a hilarious story. I always love to tell this story. And if any of the people who canceled me or initially canceled me are watching, fuck you. That's it. That's all I gotta say, really. Like, I mean, I just don't have a lot of remorse for people who do that shit. And also, I don't like low IQ people who fucking are just dumb like that. Like, genuinely. Like, I want to be surrounded by intelligent individuals, and those types of people just piss me off. But yeah, I dropped out, and then I fucking turned into a loser. So that's gonna be in the next part, but yeah, I'll see you guys there. So now at this point, you know, in my life, my mom had like completely lost it. And I'm gonna go over all these images, and yes, these are fucked ass images of me. These are like possibly some of the worst images out there of me. But yeah, at this point in my life, mom had completely lost it. We'd been arguing every single day, yelling at each other every day. And I gotta be honest with you guys, timelines might not be at 100% accuracy. Like, they might not be 100% accurate. I'm not sure if my dad was, I believe my dad went off at this point in time to go work out of state and support the family in the house. And my mom was supposed to be an at-home mom. She was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom, taking care of us. And she just stopped. Like, she was still scared of COVID, and she just stopped feeding me, my little brother. She stopped, cooking the meals of the house, stopped doing anything, no chores, nothing. She would actually go upstairs, and she started getting really obsessed with this random country in Asia called Mongolia. Like, the weirdest story of all time, I know, but like, bear with me. She became obsessed with this country for absolutely no fucking apparent reason at all. And me and him started to cook our own food. And my little brother, he just spent the rest of his days until my dad really got back and everything happened with them. And I'll talk about that later down the line. But he spent the next year or two just playing on his tablet, making frozen pizzas. His behavior got so fucking bad because he wasn't at school. My mom pulled him out of school and he just stayed at home. And he would just play video games on his tablet. And then me at the time, because my mom was losing it, and all my friends could tell there was something wrong with my mom, seriously wrong with her. So I spiraled down into really deep sadness. I would just wake up, smoke weed, text friends, see what dumb stuff we're gonna do that day. And after I dropped out, this is all after I dropped out, but I was really pissed at everyone because of that situation. I was fucking angry. Alright, my mom, at the teachers, old friends, you name it, I was pissed. Alright, and it got so bad, where in my house, with her screaming at me, you can kind of see here, I had to lock my door, but she busted my fucking door open. She would scream at me. I would me and my friends used to literally go through my window into my room because we just didn't want to go through the house to speak to her. That's how bad it was. And these are just images of me just on something. I don't know how fucked up I was, and 3 foot long. And this is a place we explored. It was an abandoned water park. It's one of those places. But there's me on the ground, bald, passed out. There's food from the kitchen that's just on the floor, like a pot. I don't know what the fuck we're eating. My friend, he's not in the frame, but he's over there on my PC playing video games, and it's not a good time. Not a good time, not a fun time. You can see all the stuff, all the fucking cups and everything. People would come over to my house and just sleep on the floor. We'd all just sleep over, mass sleepovers on the fucking floor. It was, yeah, weird. But at the, living in that environment, it got, so fucking horrible. The arguments I would have with my mom, to the point where she kicked me out. And I just couldn't stay there anymore. And I actually left my house, and I stayed at a friend's apartment for a couple weeks. And then after that, I went to my best friend's dad's house. I stayed there, I think, for a week, and then I had to leave there. And then in between me leaving there and me sleeping in my car at the park, I slept there for a day or two. I went to this party. I can really remember this, and we were at this party, and we met a few people there, and they were like, yo, you could stay over here. Like, you're all good. And, like, there's someone else who's here, who's, you know, he doesn't have a home too. Like, you're all good, man. You could totally come over to our house. It was like a bunch of these girls, right? And these two dudes. And they were my age. I felt like, yeah, the guys aren't gonna fucking kidnap me or anything. So I was like, okay, whatever. So we go to their house, right? And a few days turned into a few weeks. And it was not fun. All right, I would wake up and just do drugs. The people I was with did very, very hard drugs. You know? Like, straight fentanyl. Like, bad shit, right? And the craziest part is, there was one dude who was kind of in and out of there, and he was like, alright, he was a cool guy. He's doing way better. Way, way better. A whole 180 with his life and everything, so I'm happy for him. But the other dude who was there, the actual dude who was homeless, who was staying there with me, he, I don't know where he is today. I don't know if he's dead, if he's homeless. I don't know where he is in Albuquerque. I just knew he didn't have parents, and he, like, you know, he was a cool kid, in a sense. He had a kind soul. That's the best way I can put it, because he actually took care of me when I was there, and he was a good guy. And even though he maybe had done fucked up shit, and he was a fucked up guy, he was a good human being, you know, deep down inside. But, like, anything, any drug you can think of, like Xanax, LSD, cocaine, like, I did everything when I was there. And one of my friends even got laced with something, and he, like, passed out for, like, the whole day. It was crazy. And I remember that same day I woke up on the floor of their kitchen to the father of the person who was living there was just nudging me with his foot. I'm just laying there face down, passed out, and, like, my friends are throwing up. Well, the people I'm living with and then my best friend just throwing up in the fucking sink, and the toilet is horrible. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. I get up, and I wake up, and I take my friend to the bed, and he passes out for the whole day. He just is asleep. Like, he's all right. He just is, like, he's out. And it was just such a crazy point in time for me. You know? Like, I'm gonna have possibly some images from that time, and during this entire presentation, as I'm talking, there's gonna be stuff popping up on the screen, like more stuff I find while I'm editing this, but it was a very intense time, you know? And the last day, actually, I was there, I took LSD for the first ever time. And this is the time I was telling you that kind of made my brain feel a little better. It was very odd, but the thing is, I don't even remember anything about that entire experience. Barely anything. And before this moment, I hadn't taken a single psychedelic since my ego death. So this was the first new thing. And mind you, they had told me this was going to be completely different. This was not like mushrooms. Completely different. They basically fucking lied to me. It was very, very similar. But I took one paper tab, right? And nothing happened. So then I was like, okay. I took another half of a gel tab, and still a couple hours later, nothing happened. And then I remember we're all sitting on their bed, and I start to kind of feel it, right? And it almost felt identical to mushrooms, like the beginning. And I started to kind of panic. I started to freak out. I didn't want this. And I knew acid lasted for 12 hours, and I immediately wanted it to stop, but I knew I'm locked in for this. I'm in the roller coaster, and there's no way I can just jump off. So, by the way, this lasted a day and a half for me, like everything moving and everything, but it went away, actually. And it actually helped with the residual moving of things that was still happening, which was very interesting. I don't know how that works, but maybe if you fight fire with fire, sometimes it puts out the fire. I don't fucking know, but I started to panic, started to freak out, and I was on the bed, and like I remember everything's kind of started to shake, like everything around me started to move, and like the ceiling started to move, and it started getting really, really, really intense. Now I didn't know the dosages of the tabs I took. Apparently I took 4 times the normal amount you're supposed to take. Like you're supposed to take 90 UGs. I took like 300 to 400 UGs. And the thing starts happening again. The ceiling starts to open up into the darkness again, and I start to kind of lose it. Like I start to lose like my consciousness, start like forgetting like where it was again. I started freaking out again, and they were like telling me to calm down, all this stuff. And then the last thing I remember, odd, very fucking odd, is me seeing a vision of a chicken laying an egg. And then that was it. Apparently, I was non-responsive for a few hours after that, and they even called my best friend at the time, and he said I was just staring forward, like I was just staring at the wall, not talking, not blinking, just unresponsive, right? And then the kid who was homeless at the time with us, he told me, he was like, you were speaking to what you thought was God for hours. Like that was the only time you were ever stopped talking, and then you just stopped talking. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I have no recollection of anything, and yeah, he was the only real person who kind of took care of him. All the other girls kind of left, and he was like checking up on me the whole time and just making sure I was okay. And I remember early in the morning, the people I was with, they actually said I had to leave the house. I needed to like just leave. Like I'd spent enough time there or some shit. And it probably was because they thought they fucking fried me with acid, because I was out of it, and they had never seen someone act the way I acted on it. So yeah, I leave in the morning. Everything is still moving. I didn't get any sleep apparently. I was awake the whole night. And I'm driving home, and the drive home was crazy. I remember pressing the start button on my car, and like everything turning on. It felt like a spaceship. It was very, very interesting. And I get back to my house, and I start feeling this feeling of dread and fear again inside my stomach. And I just didn't want to go in my house. I knew my mom was inside that house, and I knew I just didn't want to even interact with her. I was just freaked out by her and the way she was acting. And this is my mom, but like we had a very close relationship when I was growing up, and she was just gone at this point. So I called my best friend, the guy who saw me on the FaceTime, you know, ex-business partner, all that. He came and picked me up. He also walked with me inside and like tried to like do small talk with her while I'm getting my stuff, and she's like trying to freak out on me. But you know, I get my stuff, and then we just go on a drive, right? And we drive up to a local coffee shop and start talking about the whole thing. And I went and slept at his house, and the next day I just got all my stuff from the person I was staying at beforehand, and I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna get a lock on my door. I'm gonna get like a handle on my door with a lock, and I'm not gonna speak to my mom all day. Like if she tells me to leave, like I remember I was talking to my dad, and my dad was like, she tells you to leave, you can stay there, it's my house. Like it was his fucking house. He like put down all the money for it. He did all that shit, right? He was like, this is my house. You're not fucking living there. Like you're my son. You're just staying in the fucking house. So I was like, fuck this. If she tells me to leave, I'll straight call the cops on her. Like fuck her. She can't do shit. I'm a minor. And I remember she would throw shit at me. It was pretty bad, but I got back there, right? And I just said, like, I just stopped speaking to her. I just stayed in my room every day. I would literally hop out the window every time I would leave. I just wouldn't even go through the door. Like I literally would jump through my fucking window. No joke. That's like the curtains to one of the windows, but yeah. During this like time of just me being kind of a degenerate, I met a few crazy people and did some pretty crazy shit. So like the next two stories I'm going to talk about with you guys are, like I said, only few that I can tell at this time. The rest will come later in podcasts or maybe other videos when the time is right, but I just felt like I should include these because these are some pretty crazy stories. I got hit by a fucking car and almost got stabbed at downtown Albuquerque at like 3 a.m. But yeah, it was a very terrible time of my life. I remember, I'm not sure if it was before or after this event, but I remember for a whole summer we didn't do jack shit besides drink and smoke. And I wanted to do shit. I wanted to go camping. I remember there were times we did go camping, and those were some fun times. I'm not saying the whole fucking, my entire childhood was hell, right? I had some alright times. Go camping, that was fun. You know, just the random things. I remember we would go to this little event every Tuesday at this park, and they had food trucks, and we'd all hang out there, and those were all right, you know, but then, like, it was like 20% good, 80% fucked, you know, because, like, every time I would go home from hanging out with friends, I would go home to this type of house, and this was not a home. And actually, if you guys want to see my room, I'm gonna put up on the screen this, my friend made a 3D render of my room, so you guys could actually see the whole thing. I don't know how the fuck she did this, but she did it, so looks cool. But I'll show you guys that in a second. But yeah, no, it was a very, very fucked time in my life. I shaved my head at some point in time completely. Same with my friend. And then I got that 3-foot bong, and after that, I just would smoke it every day. I think after this is from a video, this is a screenshot from a video, but I threw up after that video. And yeah, the reason why I'm not showing a lot more photos and images and stuff is because there's a lot of other people's faces and shit in there, and I could blur them out, but like, I'm just doing it out of respect, in a sense. I don't talk to a lot of these people now. Some of them went down like the worst path you could think of. Some of them went down the best path that you could think of, you know? Life just happens. But yeah, these next 2 stories are gonna be pretty crazy. So yeah, let's get into that. So all right, yeah, so these are the miscellaneous stories, you know, while being a degenerate. The timelines on these are pretty crazy. Don't really know. I know the one I'm about to tell you right now happened before I moved in with those people and went through all that and did all that crazy stuff with them. But yeah, so this is from the night of that experience, the last day with them. This is the day after me driving home. Or no, yeah, me just driving I think it was me driving to their house or something. But, and then this is another story I'm gonna add on top of everything, but this was just a dumb, fucking stupid story. I didn't even get charges pressed against me or anything. It was hilarious. But okay, how I almost got stabbed downtown. All right, this like 100% happened before I was like doing the couch hopping thing, because like the guy I was with who got me fucking in the situation that I was in, he knew those people and they were not fond of each other, to say the least. I will also state this guy, this guy's no longer with us, in a sense. Like, he passed away last year, so I'm not gonna say his name, obviously, but what I will say is this person is by far the most evil human being I've ever met in my entire fucking life. There's probably gonna be other people I'll meet that are pretty bad people. This guy took the cake. I've never met a person scarier than this guy. Like, I don't give a fuck if you're the quote-unquote scariest gangbanger in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This guy was on a different level. And the scariest part is he didn't even look like he played the part of that. So, I met this dude, right? Me and my best friend, and we thought he was cool at the time, and, you know, I would have called him my friend at the time. He was a pretty good friend. He was older than us, though, and he was very influential. This guy was very good at persuading you into doing anything. Like, he wanted to do something, he would get us to go do it, but he would also, the thing with him is he was a very, very wealthy guy. He would drive us around, buy us food, drugs, snacks, drinks, whatever the fuck we wanted, he'd buy us. He had a Gucci wallet, crazy clothes, always had hundreds of dollars in his fucking wallet, always had drugs, white dude, big grin, always wore sunglasses. Like, imagine, like, the devil in human form, what that would look like. I think it would look like a guy with some big old sunglasses and a big old grin, you know? Maybe a top hat. He was just missing the top hat, you know, but super white guy, very preppy looking. And it started off small with him. He started doing very small things, but there were things that made me really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. And he would make jokes about, like, robbing places and doing something crazy and intrusive, but when things, like, started happening with him and he started doing weird stuff, it was, like, really unusual. to say the least. And remember, I was 15 at the time, maybe 16. I remember my brain is a little scattered from this, but I was really impressionable, all right? And this dude was really he was really good at it, like just getting me and my friends to do whatever. So he convinced one of my friends to smoke heroin and laced him, basically, and lied to him and said it was something else completely. He would, smoke with local homeless people around the town, smoke heroin with them, do meth, crack. This guy was crazy. No fucking, this guy actually, there was something up with him, but, and most of the things he told me and showed me, I can't speak about publicly. Even though he is no longer here, I can't. This guy did some pretty bad shit. And I actually found out about more bad shit after I cut him off completely as a friend. I heard about some horrible things this guy had done, and that he actually was in court for rape, bad shit. And he got out of it too because he was rich as shit. It was crazy. And I believe that he actually, this guy was that type of guy. He was a scary dude. But it was really late at night. Me and him were playing with I bought a new BB gun at the time. And I honestly bought it because it looked like a straight Glock 19. It looked crazily, the whole thing was metal. It looked real, right? And I bought it mainly to honestly, if someone pulled up on me and tried to stab me, from the whole Cancellation incident, I needed it for self-defense. I thought, hey, I can't buy a real gun. I'm just going to buy this. So we were shooting street signs, paper cups. It's 1 a.m. at night. He just wanted to go smoke with me. And then he asked me, he was like, yo, you want to go downtown? I was like, it's getting late, man. I need to get some rest. I'm like, I really did not want to go out. I was tired, man. And he was like, he persisted, He got me to do it. So we're driving downtown. And as we're driving there, there's this McDonald's downtown. Tons of homeless people out there. And he tells me, yo, pull over. And I'm confused as shit, but I pull into the McDonald's, and then he gets out of the car. I'm like, oh, okay. And this guy has my BB gun in his waistband, and it looks like a real gun, but he has it hidden, And I'm really confused. I get out and I block my doors, and I just watch as he walks up to a homeless guy and asks the dude for some crack. I'm like, oh, okay. And I remember he would always offer hard drugs to me and this and that, and I would just be like, I'm good. I'm not that type of person. But I was like, okay, he just asked a homeless dude for crack. That's gross. This homeless. By the way, you might hear thunder and lightning. By the way, it's raining crazy outside. But and the dude gives him this small little baggie, right? And he hands the dude some cash. We get back in my car, and mind you, I remember, I said this again. This dude looks out of place. It's 3 a.m, 2 a.m. Fucking wearing nice ass clothes. I think he had Laurel Piana shoes. This guy was rich as fuck. He opened his wallet for the homeless guy. He had hundreds in there, right? And he tastes the powder in the bag, right? And he looks at me and he looks so fucking cracked out, pissed. And he starts getting visibly angry and he starts screaming in my car it's fucking sugar. This fucking bum gave me sugar, and he starts freaking out. At this point, I'm really exhausted. I'm high, I'm starting to get a little freaked out. This guy's a grown man in my car screaming at me. Then he gets out of the car and just walks up to the same group of homeless people. Now, I'm getting out with him, and I can see he's pissed. I can see he's fucking mad. And I'm like, yo, just chill out, bro. Chill out. Let's just go home. Let's go smoke some weed, bro. It's going to be all right. Shit happens, bro. And he's like, nah, dude, fuck this guy. I'm going to fucking find this guy. And he gets out. And the person who sold him it was gone. That fucker disappeared, right? And he walks up to the same group of homeless people, and he opens his wallet and said, this fucking dude just sold me sugar. He looks like this, and I gave a description of the guy. And if you bring me back a finger or show proof of you killing or hurting him, I will pay you $200. And literally showed them his wallet, showed them all the money. And I was just standing there in shock. Because you could see in his eyes he was serious. And you could also see that in his eyes that he was also unfazed at the same time. It almost looked like this was a normal thing for him. And immediately I just started getting this feeling this sinking feeling in my stomach, and I just felt disgusted. I was like, this guy's evil. Like, he just like, there's something wrong with this person. And I just kept trying to calm him down and just go back to the car, and he kept ignoring me. He keeps proceeding to walk up to different homeless people and give them the same offer. And at this point, I don't care anymore. I just want to go home. I'm done. He has my fucking brand new BB gun in his waistband, and I don't want him to do anything dumb with it, and I want him to give it to me. So we keep walking around. He sees this one guy sitting on the side of the road and proceeds to walk up to him. The guy jumps up and says, get the fuck away. He's just freaking out. He's like, get the fuck away from me. Get away, like freaking out on us, right? And I'm like, yo, bro, chill the fuck out. Like, it's all good. We're gonna dip. And then he's like, nah, I need to talk to you. And the guy starts screaming and pulls out this fucking giant knife. And this dude's like really close to us, by the way. Like 5 feet, 6 feet away. He just pulls out this big knife, right? And it's like a hunting knife. And in my head, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And the dude just starts running right at me. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then the guy I'm with just pulls out the BB gun and points it at him and starts screaming at him on the side of this road, by the way. 3 in the fucking morning, downtown, screaming at him, pointing the gun at him. And the guy is like telling him, I'm gonna fucking shoot you if you get near us. And the dude just starts running away. And I'm done. I'm like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? And we get in the car and leave immediately after that. I take my fucking BB gun back. And then as I'm getting in the car, he's like, hold on, 1 second. And he goes out, and he starts talking to this woman. And I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home, bro. Fuck this. Like, this is fucked. Like, I hate this, right? And he gets in the car, and a homeless woman gets in my fucking car too. I'm like, what is this? And like, she's like, just, I'm trying to remember. She wanted a ride. Yeah, she wanted a ride. I remember this. And we start driving. And I was like, I'm just gonna drop this bitch off, and that's it. He's like, yeah, bro, just give her a ride, you know, she just need a ride. And he was doing it for crack. And I drive to this motel. And I remember, like, she even said in the car, like, don't try anything. I have a fucking gun on me if you guys try to, like, kidnap me. And I was just sitting there like, I'm so fucking, just get the fuck out of my car. Like, this is disgusting. And I dropped her off, I dropped him off, and I never spoke to him again. And no joke, this guy was fucked. Alright, the things he told me he did were some of the most despicable things I've ever heard a human being do. That I know personally. Maybe there's an ISIS member out there that has done way worse, or, you know, some crazy terrorist fucking organization. But like, as a human being, as an individual, this was the worst person I've ever met in my entire life, right? And a few years later, this is kind of recent-ish, I was actually at the parking garage with my friends, and we pull up to the top of the parking garage, and we actually saw the same dude. We saw him. And immediately I'm like, oh, let's get the fuck out of here. I want to leave. And I'm with my best friend, and he understands what this guy, the capacity of this human being, right? And the 2 other friends in the car have no fucking really, they know who he is, but they just don't really understand the context, the severity of who he is, you know? He spots me in my car, and I have to immediately play it cool, and he starts talking to us in the cheerful, enthusiastic tone he would always talk to us in. He was very outgoing, and he just hops in the car, invites himself in the car, right? And he pulls out a small baggie of cocaine. And I asked my friends if they just want some, and immediately I looked at them, like through the rearview mirror, and I'm like, trying to look at them in the fucking eyes. I'm like, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. This guy gets his shit from homeless people. This could be laced. This, like, people are dying from fentanyl, all this crazy stuff. And they didn't really listen and actually did the cocaine. And then I'm sitting there and I'm just like, fuck, how do I get out of this? And I keep looking at my friend in the passenger and he's looking at me like, this is not good. Like, we need to get out of here. And I pull up my phone and I remember I made a fucked ass excuse. It was a fake ass excuse. Like, my dad needs me home right now. Something happened or something, right? But before that happens, he pulls out another bag, much smaller. He's like, yo, y'all want to do some Valium with me? And this guy was known for sharing all the shit he had, always, all the time. So they were like, yeah, well, fuck yeah. And I think one of my friends in the back actually saw me looking at him and just was like, nah. And the other kid was just like, he didn't know fucking better. He was younger. He thought this other dude was cool or whatever. So he was like thinking about it. And then I said I had to dip. I had to leave. And, you know, we parted ways. He left the car. And that was it. And later that night, he died. Fentanyl. Died of fentanyl. And I don't know if it was from the other baggie. I'm going to assume it could have been. Could have been from something else he took that night. But that night we met him, he died. It was a very crazy situation, I guess. And yeah, that was that dude. That was how I almost got stabbed. And I can talk about this publicly because he's no longer around. I honestly would not have included this story if he was still alive. No joke. That's how fucked up this guy is. This guy has crazy connections too. He was straight showing me photos of him with like the cartel. Like the shit you guys would never fucking believe. Even if I showed you, you probably still wouldn't believe. Like just looking at what this guy looks like, you know, on paper or like on his Instagram, it's he does not look like that type of guy. But yeah, that's how that happened. And then I'm gonna include this real quick in there. So me and my friend, we went downtown, we went down to the Bosque. It's this like little nature reserve-ish thing. The Rio Grande is there. It's this river, right? And we go down with these pellet guns at the time. And we were like shooting cans and whatnot. And I remember we walk up these stairs, right? Not these stairs, like this dirt like mound back to my car because we're done. And I see 4 police squad cars around my car. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I start to kind of freak out, right? And it's me and my best friend at the time. The other friend who was with us shooting the pellets, he went home early because he just didn't feel good or something. I don't remember, but besides that, we're walking, we're calling another friend. We're like, yo, can you pick us up over here? There's cops around my car. I'm like, fuck, dude, my car, you know. And we get to this bridge. And at this point, we got the BB guns. They were huge air rifles. And we cranked them in half because you would crank it down in half and you put 1 pellet in and then you could shoot 1 pellet. We cranked it down in half. We stuffed it in our fucking pants. I want you guys to visualize this, like us with the giant rifles that are like broken in half in our pants. And we're waddling up this bridge, right? And at the top, I just see a fucking, I think it was a sheriff or like a state trooper, one of the two. And he immediately sees me. He puts his hand on his gun, and I'm like, oh fuck. And I start waddling back down the bridge with my friend, right? We get to the bottom of like the bridge and like the dirt mound, or like the kind of the bottom of the hill, and he finally comes over the bridge. We see him, and we're laying down with this tree, and we pull these rifles out, right? And we just put them in the dirt. My friend sits in some cactus. It was not a good situation. And then we walk up with our hands up. He points a gun. I think he pointed the gun at us. I'm not 100% sure, but he told us to get the fuck on the ground, put our hands up. And then I see a fucking helicopter go over us and like shine this like spotlight on us, and it's just circling around us. And I remember I looked at him and I looked at my friend, and my friend's sitting there with handcuffs on, I'm sitting there with handcuffs on, and I'm like, is that for us? And he's like, yeah. And then I sat there and I'm like, fuck, what did we do? Is this like this illegal to shoot BB guns in the fucking forest? Like, come on. So I started talking to the guy, right? Started chatting it up with him pretty well. You know, started talking about his childhood, how he used to do the same thing back in the day with paintball guns. And I got decently close with this guy while talking with him, right? Then his buddies show up. actual Albuquerque Police Department. He kind of explained to them the situation. Look, they were just down there shooting pellet guns, this and that. And we got out of the whole thing. No charges were pressed against us. They drove us home they drove us to my car in the police squad car. And that was that, but it was pretty crazy. There was a whole fucking police helicopter above us and like 5 police officers. Apparently a woman reported us, like 2 armed and dangerous men in the South Valley. We were like 16 at the time. Like it was dumb. It was so stupid, but okay. Besides that was just like a little blip, something I did. There's a lot more stories I could tell, but like as I said, I'll leave that for another time. But how I got hit by a car. It's not random. I purposely got hit by a car. Alright, I'm gonna tell you the whole story. So this story is actually completely lost in the timeline of events of everything. You know, what I do remember is that there was a school Nerf war happening, and I had, one of those Orbeez splatterball guns at the time that would shoot those fucking Orbeez all crazy. And I remember we were in a Regal Cinema parking lot with some friends. And I also had the BB gun in the car, and my best friend, at the time, had a very similar BB gun, but his was fully automatic. It was a cool ass BB gun. It was fucking sick. His shot pellet, like his shot fucking plastic BBs, mine shot metal ones, the whole thing. But here's the whole scene, right? I'm just gonna lay this out for you guys so you guys can kind of visualize it. Like, I'm standing behind my friend's car. These girls who are on the other Nerf team, right? They pull up and they're trying to block him out, right? But every time they try to drive over to like block his car in, and they they try to, they would roll down the window to shoot us too. I would just shoot my splatterball gun through the window and hit them. And it was hilarious. They would get so fucking mad at me every time. And as I'm shooting them with the splatterball gun, like fucking with them, like hitting them in the face, they can't even roll down the window. I see her, she's trying to block in the car, so I stand behind my friend's car in front of her car. And as I'm doing this, staring at her, she's staring at me, and I just see her. And she was older than us at the time too. And she just decides, fuck these guys, I'm gonna drive right into them. So she drives directly into me and my best friend who are standing behind this car, and we go straight onto the hood. And my best friend, he slides off of the car, like kind of in the beginning, but he was on there with me for a second. And visualize it like this. Like, you can see here, like, there's the hood of the car and the windshield. My fingers were in here in this little crevice. I was holding in, and I was holding with my left hand, my fingers in the crevice, and my right hand had the splatterball gun on it. It was the one with the drum mag and the light up side. So, trying to get a good visual picture for you guys, but I'm hanging onto the hood of this fucking car, alright? She starts driving pretty fast. My friend's probably slipped off the car at this point. I'm not really sure. And she starts driving fast. Now, I'm not gonna say she was driving like 100 fucking miles per hour, but it could have been like 60. It was definitely enough to the point where if she hit the brakes, I would have been done. Like, if she did any sort of maneuver fast or hit the brakes fast, it literally felt like my fingers would have ripped off and I would have flew. Like, I would have been done. I would have been fucked. So she starts driving really fucking fast, right? And I just don't know what to do. I'm on this car. I'm starting to freak out. And with one hand in the hood and with my other hand on the splatterball gun, I just start slamming the splatterball gun into the hood of her car, just bashing it over and over. And she's driving through this fucking Regal Cinema, going crazy. She's in a Mini Cooper at the time. I'm hitting the fucking thing. And then she starts to slow down because I'm bashing in her fucking hood. And in my head, I'm like, this bitch is crazy. She's trying to kill me. Like, what the fuck is this? So, after hitting her car hood good amount of times, she slows down a little bit. I slide off the hood onto the ground, and I just start running back to the car, right? She's in an adjacent parking lot now. She's not near us. I see her start driving back. As she's driving back, we get to the car. I grab my BB gun. My friend grabs his. This is literally like, it felt like a movie at the time. right now it'd probably just be like 2 kids shooting BB guns, but like at the time, like run, grab the BB gun. She's like driving towards us. We start shooting at her car with the fucking BB guns. She drives right past us, like, and then we hop in our cars, and she starts chasing us this whole time. It was fucking ridiculous. And like, I didn't have any crazy injuries from this. I think I had some scratches on my leg and arm from like falling off the car, and my fingers hurt because it was literally, I was holding on by my fingers. You know, my fingers were in that crevice. And every time, like, she would, like, I thought she was gonna stomp on the brakes while she was going fast, and I was just to get me off the hood and, like, maybe fly back. But, like, in my head, I'm like, that would have literally fucked me up, like, really bad. But she starts chasing us in the car, and then she's in a fucking Mini Cooper. I don't know a lot about Mini Coopers, I'm gonna be honest, but she was in a Mini Cooper, and we got away from her, like, after a couple minutes. It was pretty crazy. And even the craziest part of the whole story was after the whole incident happened, after I fucking smash her hood with the splatterball gun, we shoot her car with BBs, all over it. She calls one of our friends, and she's like, where's Kiwa? Where's, you know, I'm not gonna say his name, and she's like, I wanna hang out with them, that was so fun. In my head, I'm like, what the fuck? This chick is crazy. It's also raining outside, by the way. I just want to let you guys know. But now it's full on raining. But it was unbelievable. Like, and like everyone there was like, holy fuck, you were hanging on to that car hood. Like for a, like, and I was going fast. My best friend was on the car hood when she started going kind of fast, and then she slowed down a little bit and he like slipped off. And I was still on it. I believe that's exactly what happened. Remember, I could have been high that night, memory, but I do remember car hood, fast as fuck, slamming my splatterball against it, and then lighting her car up and escaping. But yeah, that's how I got hit by that fucking car. It was pretty crazy. But these stories can kind of show you like the life I was living-ish, you know, when I was like right after I got canceled. Like, I remember we would ding dong ditch people's houses. We would actually go find the people who canceled us and ding dong ditch their house. It was hilarious. We would go and we would find them and we would ding dong ditch their house, because like, we were like, fuck these guys. We would go bang on their door, and we'd go back and we'd wait. The parents would come out, everything, you know, come out, and they would go back in. We'd go bang on the door again. It was so fucked. We had nothing better to do. We were complete losers, and yeah, it was dumb. We were doing dumb shit, all right? And after a few months, my dad actually eventually did come back, and stuff started to get way better. Like, he was taking care of my little brother. For like a second, he was kind of like, oh, the mom's acting a little weird, but she was acting weird, but like semi-okay, I guess, like enough for him to handle. But I don't really understand a lot. I mean, I would probably have to talk to him about it more. But when he did come back, something like came over me. I don't know what it is. I think it was being around him. When I'm around him, you cannot fucking stop me. And that is not an overstatement. I will keep fucking fighting, either in my business and anything. Like, when I'm around my dad, it's just the energy he gives off from the things he went through, from the work ethic he has. Like, there's nothing that can match it. But in the time he came back, actually, I straight sped run me getting my GED. I went and got my GED so fucking fast. I got it in like 2 months or like a month or something. And then I actually went and tried out university, and then dropped out again of university. It's pretty crazy. I remember sitting in my computer science class, and I stood up and I looked around, and I was like, wow. No one here thinks they're going to be a billionaire or a millionaire, or thinks that what they're going to do is going to actually have an impact on the world, or on the human race. Like, look, I'm not going to have an impact on the world. 900 million years from now, whatever I do is not going to fucking matter. I just want to impact people's lives positively, and I want to help people. So, yeah, but I basically just went through all that, you know, dropped out again, and I actually started talking to my dad about online business in general, and I told him, look, I'm going to start studying for it. I'm going to formulate a plan on what type of business I wanted to start, and then we started getting into business. but I'm going to get into that in the next couple slides. A lot more things actually happened after he had to leave again and go back to Ecuador. And he had to go back. Yeah, he also had to go to New York, I believe. He had to go to a bunch of different places, but I'm gonna go into it in the next slide, just talking about the business, me getting started with that, and then some other things that happened as well in that time frame. But yeah, those were some of the miscellaneous stories, that happened to me when I was a teenager, and there's a decent amount more, but I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to share these with you guys, just to kind of show you, like, I want to be able to relate with some of you. If you've been through something fucked up, And actually, I'm going to include another bonus story after this of a shooting I went through. And I'm not doing any of this for attention. I'm not telling you guys these stories to be like, oh, this happened to me, or feel bad for me. Remember, I want to be able to relate with you and make you feel like you can do it. So anything you guys went through, I don't give a fuck if you were homeless. I don't give a fuck how bad your upbringing was. You can do it. You just got to do it, You just got to start taking those actions and taking those steps. And I'll show you at the end of the video how I kind of broke out of this pattern, how I broke out of this lifestyle. But yeah, let's get into starting my business and my mom leaving and all that. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so yeah, now we're on to my mom leaving. So I got to give you guys a little bit of context, and I know it might also sound a little different right now. I'm in a different location, but my mom, during quarantine, got really fucking obsessed with this country named Mongolia. Now, I know this sounds very weird to most of you guys, but you just got to hear me out. She got obsessed with this random ass country, and she just started learning about their culture, the people, the history, everything about it, right? So she actually left to Mongolia and just left me at this house basically alone. My little brother was with my dad at the time, and my dad was working, and he didn't really understand a whole lot about the situation at the time. But yeah, so my mom left, and that basically made me and my business partner at the time kind of just lose it. Like, he didn't really lose it in a sense, I did, but we were just partying, drinking, doing whatever the fuck. It was two teenagers with a huge house. Like, well, what else were we gonna do? And we didn't know any better at the time as well. Like, we knew we needed to be working on our business, but our past self and our future self were in conflict, as you can possibly imagine. But yeah, here's me at a party right there, and then here's me smoking in my room. I'm gonna put up a bunch more slides and images that I find up while I'm talking about this. But yeah, my mom left, and it was pretty crazy. I mean, I wasn't expecting her to actually do it, but she did, and that's just how things go sometimes. But yeah, so after that happened, something shifted inside of me, in a sense. And also, I have to preface, my memory is not the best. Maybe this happened right after she left, but this is the original logo that I designed for our business as well. But when she left, or before she was about to leave, I don't know, one of the two, I snapped mentally. I was done being the complete loser version of myself that I had been for the past year and a half. And I really decided that I needed to change something. I was skinny as shit. I didn't have much going for me. Remember, I dropped out of college and high school, to start a business, and we didn't really understand how that was supposed to work at the time. But yeah, we spent most of our time, honestly, me and my business partner, working on things that did not push the needle forward. Like building the fucking website or making the goddamn logo. I spent days making this shit when I could have been fucking cold calling, when I could have been getting clients. And it's just a lesson I had to learn. And you always learn things the hardest way in life. You never learn shit the easy way. So I remember, like, when we first started, though, we would get up at 6 in the morning, we would go fucking run to the gym, do like 100 push-ups every day. And I remember the push-ups, they increased. Like, we started at 100 a day, me and him, and then it went to 200, and then 300, and then 400 a day was like the max we got to. And then eventually I did 1,000 push-ups. I didn't record it this time, but I've done it like 3 times total in my life. But that was the first time I'd ever done 1,000 push-ups, and it was pretty fucking intense, pretty painful. But I really started telling myself, if I say something, I have to do it. So when it came down to something like that, I woke up in the morning, I told everyone I was going to do it, and then I did 1,000 push-ups in front of everybody. And that's how it was. But I remember when I did start the first cold call, it was a really new experience for me. I sucked at it for a while. I remember calling 600 people and not getting a single yes, and then finally closing a client for $500 a month. So it seemed like a big win at the time. Now that I think back to it, I should have charged a lot more. Even if I lost a sale, like, I should have just charged more. But yeah, we signed him. But the thing is we were, using Go High Level at the time, and we were kind of stupid. We didn't know we didn't really need the $497 plan for a client, but we were spending $497 a month, and we had guys giving us $500 a month, and, fees and everything. We were breaking even / losing money every month, so it was not good, actually, at all. But after that happened, we slowly realized that our product, like our service in general, was shit. It wasn't that good. All we were doing was running Facebook ads, and we weren't really utilizing Go Higher Level or really anything. And we also did not know a lot about our niche at the time, too. So we made one of the dumbest decisions that we could have ever made in business and went into what we called, and this is like mental masturbation at its finest, product development, aka proactive procrastination, and our learning phase. I'm using air quotes right now because this was dumb. I should have just continued cold calling, and I learned this the hard way. I signed a client a long time after this with just cold calling again, and that's what I should have been doing at this time. And maybe if I was doing it at this time, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now, and I may have not gone through the things that I had to go through after this. But I honestly, every single thing in this story, every single part of this story, I honestly have a little bit of gratitude towards. Even though a lot of the shit wasn't that good, I wouldn't be the person I am today without it. So, yeah. But I'm going to slowly go into the next story. But I also want to talk about how me and him, we really just started going crazy with the business stuff. We started listening, watching so much fucking Andrew Tate. I remember, it was a good feeling. It was a great feeling. The amount of motivation we had back then, I don't know if I'll ever have it again. And I don't really care if I don't. But it was fucking unbelievable. This is my face after, I remember he was telling me about the One Punch Man fucking workout or whatever. And I was like, dude, I'll do that shit so fucking quickly. It was pretty hard. I did it, but that was the face of me after it was done. I was pretty fucking exhausted. But yeah. So this is gonna be kind of a lot. So I'm gonna talk about how we were oscillating in a sense, and after this video I'm also gonna show you how we were. But yeah, one day it was just me and him and our friend, and I think a couple other friends in the house, and we were just chilling, and we just saw this invite, and to a house party. And at the time, I didn't really want to do it. I was like, well, this is it's a house party. I wasn't really feeling it. And another thing that really deterred me from actually going through with going to this was the fact that I think there was 500 people that were going to show up. And I think it was called Project X Party at the time. I'm not sure if it was named that after or before. I just remember going to this fucking party and it was terrible. So I can vividly remember this. Like, we start driving to the party, and we're not driving in my car, and I just, like, I knew there was something weird was gonna happen, right? I had just a feeling. I was like, okay, there's gonna be a fucking ton of people going. Some of the people that are going are probably gonna have guns, and they might actually meet other people there that they don't like, that they have an issue with, that also have guns. And in my head, while we're driving there, I'm like, this is just not a good idea. There's so many fucking people. Like, this is gonna not end up well, but we already were going. Everybody else really wanted to go. I was kind of being the Debbie Downer of the whole fucking thing, but whatever, doesn't matter. And yeah, so we get there. It's alright. It's a party. People are fucking dancing and being retarded, you know. Same old. And I remember my best friend at the time, my business partner, he kind of felt like a little tired or uneasy or something, and he was just like, yo, I'm trying to go to the car. And I was like, alright, I'm kind of down to go to the car and just chill with you, because I don't really like this, you know. And I also remember seeing someone point their gun in the air, and that made me feel a little uneasy as well. And another thing that should have been a red flag for me at the time is entering the party. There was armed security, and when I say armed security, I'm using air quotes again, because these were just kids in shiesties, you know, with fucking, like, just guns. That was literally it. That was the security. It wasn't actual real security. It was just a bunch of kids with guns. But besides that, like, we walked down the street, and we hopped in our friend's truck. Our friend was the one who took us there, and we were just chilling in the bed of the truck. And after a little bit, I remember hearing, like, some commotion, like just some screaming and shouting, and my friend was asleep at the time, so I hop out of the truck and I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. And I remember walking down the street and seeing, like, a group of kids, like, in, like, a fucking just a group. And then I just see this one kid run past me, like, fast as shit. And I'm like, oh fuck, okay, something weird's about to happen. So I start running back with him, right? I start sprinting with this dude. And I remember trying to get his attention. I was like, yo, what's happening? Like, are the cops here? Is something bad about it? Like, what the fuck is happening? And he just didn't say shit to me. He didn't say a single thing. He just continued running. So I remember starting to see more people run down the street with me. And I was like, okay, something weird's gonna happen. So I remember following this kid, and he's running, and I'm running back to the truck as well. And he's next to the truck. His car is a little bit closer to the truck. And as he runs up to his car, I see a person get out of his car with a fucking AR-15 and pointed at the party. And that's when I was like, oh fuck, I need to get the fuck out of here, basically. So I run to the truck, and I hop in the back, and I immediately jump on my friend. I'm like, start shaking him. I'm like, get the fuck up. You need to get up. We need to go. And then, boom, I just hear a couple gunshots ring out. And I remember feeling hearing and feeling the vibrations of the bullets go over the car. And I'm going to play, like, a clip in a sec of kind of what went down. But, yeah. I'll play that now. Yeah, so as this is happening, as they're shooting at us and everything, I remember just laying in the truck bed and just hearing all these bullets go over us. And I'm like, oh my fucking god, they're shooting up the like, they're going into the party and they're shooting people. That was, like, the first thought I had. I didn't think they were just shooting up the party. Like, the amount of sheer gunshots in such a short amount of time, and this lasted for like 30-40 minutes, by the way. It was a long ass fucking period of time. But I remember hearing my friend screaming down the road, running, jumping into the truck. It was his truck, and he starts driving. Like I don't even think he knew we were in the back seat, but he starts making this 3-point turn in the middle of the fucking road, and it was just fucked. Like, I remember laying in the back of the truck while he's making this turn, and there's bullets going over the truck. I still believe God saved me and didn't let a bullet just go through the bed of the truck and hit me, because it totally could have. Like, that's what I was just really waiting for, honestly, was a bullet to just go through and hit me, or my friend at the time, and it was pretty fucked. Like, I don't understand what I was thinking in that moment. I don't know what I was thinking in that moment, in that very moment. I don't know how I was processing it, but I do know I was like, this is insane. That's the main thought I had. But yeah, he's making this 3-point turn, and then I remember he finally starts to drive, and at this point I peek my head up and I see this truck behind us, except in the truck, like, the lights are on inside of the truck behind us, and I still am under the impression, right, that the people behind us are probably shooting up the party, because I looked at them and they all had fucking masks on, like shiesties or whatever the fuck type ski masks on, right? And apparently, like, one of my friends who saw the shooting happen, like, right in front of him, like, saw that truck pull up and start shooting, he said, like, he confirmed it for me, like, those were the kids shooting up the party. But that was later on. But I bang on the truck, and I start yelling at my friend to drive fucking faster, because they are behind us. We need to get the fuck out of here. And little did we know, we were actually going straight into a goddamn dead end. So, it was like a dead end, but... So it was like a long road. I want you guys to kind of picture this. But the road kind of broke off into little cul-de-sacs. But either way, the road ended in a dead end, right? So we're driving. We pull off into a cul-de-sac. And we see this truck that was behind us fucking fly right past us, fast as fuck. And we're waiting in the cul-de-sac, and at the time I'm calling everybody, just trying to make sure everybody's okay. Every single person I know is completely fine. And I remember one of my friends just wouldn't answer the phone, and I started getting really fucking nervous, because at the time, like, he was the youngest kid in our group. You know, he was like 14 years old. I'm pretty sure. 14 or 15, and I remember his mom thought that he was playing video games in my house too, which was another fucked ass topic. But I kept calling him over and over and over and over again, and then these girls answered the phone, like these chicks, and they said they were like, they were freaking the fuck out. They were screaming and crying, and they were just telling us that he got shot. And in that moment, like, me and him aren't friends anymore. We haven't been friends for like a few months. Just shit happens, you know? Just stuff I wouldn't want to talk about right now, but sadly, like, I thought the shooting, like, okay, like, there's two ways you can view it. There's optimistic and pessimistic. I don't think he viewed it in the right way afterwards, and it just didn't really affect him in a positive way. Like, he didn't really make a good change in his life afterwards, but hopefully he does, honestly. But I remember, like, hearing that and just thinking, like, he's dead. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I legitimately thought, like, because they said he got shot, like, twice. And I remember just, like, how, like, little he was at the time. And I don't know, I don't even know how, because this is recent. This is slightly recent, I guess, in, like, the past, like, 2 years. But I remember, like, after that phone call, and they told us, like, where they were gonna go, what clinic they were gonna go to, and we had to drive back through the party. And at this point, I've called a majority of my friends, but I haven't called everyone, so now I'm really freaked, because I know one of my friends got shot at this point, and I'm really just not, like, I'm trying to call everybody. And I remember I kept popping my fucking head up, which was so stupid of me. I don't know why I kept doing that. Every time I would pop my head up, I would hear more gunshots and have to put my head back down into the bed of the truck. And, like, I remember having to drive past the party, just hearing, just screaming, and more just gunshots ring out. And then we get to the clinic, and I remember we get there and we saw this truck in the parking lot. All of us, we all saw this truck, and it was in the parking lot, and there were a bunch of cop cars surrounding it. It was crazy, and I didn't even give a fuck about that at that point, right? I just jumped out of the car with my friend. We both jumped out of the hood, and we sprinted straight into this hospital. They were going into lockdown. I remember we ran in, and it was literally horrible. Like, there was blood on the floor. People are fucking running, screaming. I remember bits and pieces of this because this was like a pretty fucked moment in time for me. But like, I remember we tried getting into it, and like one of the staff members just told us immediately, like, you need to get the fuck out. There's an active shooter in the area. Like, you need to leave. And I'm like, no, our fucking friend just got shot. We need to see if he's here. Because before that, I had to call his mom and explain to his mom the fucking situation, which was probably one of the worst conversations I've ever had in my entire life on a phone call. But I remember walking out of that hospital after they closed the doors and they locked them and everything, because they were going into like serious lockdown. And by the way, we still were hearing like gunshots from in the distance. Like, people were still shooting at each other at this point. It lasted so fucking long. And as I'm walking out, I remember seeing this kid on a stretcher, and I thought it was my friend. So I sprint up to this ambulance that he's getting like lifted into, and I remember there was a bunch of like fire department, like fire trucks everywhere, police cars everywhere. And I remember running up, and like a fucking fire dude just like grabs me, and he's like, chill the fuck out. Like, you need to chill the fuck out. Like, just yelling at, I don't even remember exactly what he said, man, but I remember looking to see if it was my friend on the stretcher, and it wasn't. Apparently that kid in the stretcher apparently was just dropped off by some people in the truck that was in the parking lot. And yeah, it was unbelievable. And I can just remember, like, after that happening, after seeing that kid, like, sadly he passed away later that night, I believe so, but sadly, it was just fucked. The whole situation was fucked. I remember I went back to the truck after that, and the detectives like immediately told us that we needed to stay there. We're not allowed to leave. One of my friends got the truck, but like another one of my friends who came had a bullet hole in his car because there was like hundreds of fucking rounds fired that night. So like, I'm surprised no other people I know were shot. But I remember we were sitting in the truck, and they towed the other truck that was left in the parking lot past us. And I remember all of us just looking at this truck, and it was getting pulled by like some tow truck. I think the CSI unit was going to check it out. And the craziest thing is, I don't think they arrested a single fucking person that did anything that night. Like, I think everyone who did that got away with it. I don't think a single fucking person got arrested, because I didn't get a single fucking update from any one of those detectives. But they interviewed me and questioned me that entire night, and also other times as well. When I was sitting in the hospital with my friend, they came in and fucking interviewed me again, asking me dumbass questions like I was the one who shot my fucking friend, which was stupid. But I remember they towed this truck past us, and it was just littered with bullet holes. Like, and I just thought in my head, I'm like, wow, that was definitely not the only person who got hurt in that truck. And I remember like just seeing it, and it was literally Swiss cheese. Like, no exaggeration. Every single part of this truck was destroyed. Every window was shattered. There was fucking blood coming out of the goddamn passenger door. And yeah, the whole experience was unbelievably surreal. Like, And, like, during the weeks that followed this, and still sometimes to this day, like, I have my head on a swivel now, but, like, the next few weeks after this happening to me, I would hear that maybe, like, a bang or a clap, like, just in life, and I would freak the fuck out. Look around, you know, my adrenaline would spike up really crazy, and, yeah, but thankfully, my friend at the time, who was my friend at that time, the kid who got shot, he did end up making a full recovery. He didn't get shot in a fucking terrible place, which is really, really good, but I think he still has some nerve damage, but besides that, he made a full recovery. And yeah, after this happening to me, I almost saw it as like a sign from the universe that you need to get your shit together and you need to stop fucking around and start doing what you're supposed to do. Like, as harsh as it seems, it felt like God slapped me in the face and told me, like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop going to these fucking parties. And after that happened, we started to cut off more people. We were supposed to actually go to fucking Hawaii with that friend, and we actually had to postpone that, but we did end up going still. Like, here's some photos of me. I was still smoking in Hawaii. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. We stopped hanging out with people, but we still weren't as consistent, and we still were fluctuating. Like, as you can see, like, I still smoked weed on occasion. As recording this, as of right now, I smoke weed at night sometimes. Still. You know? Just on occasion. And not like how I used to, not as an escape, more like as a relaxation thing. It's like a fucking glass of wine at the end of the night. And I'm still slowly cutting away from it. Ever so slightly. But I remember after a few months of all this, my mom came back, and it was like, it was hell, to say the least. So I remember me and my friend were laying, like, he used to sleep on the floor, I would sleep on the bed, and then some nights he would go sleep upstairs in, like, the fucking master suite or something. But I can vividly remember this. We were sleeping in my room, and I knew she was gonna come home that night. I already heard some stuff from my grandma and grandpa, who are her parents, but on her side of the family. But I just stayed up. I just couldn't sleep that night, and I just was trying to make sure nothing weird was going to happen in the house. She was a very unpredictable person. I mean, anyone who's watching this, if you met her, you'd immediately know something is wrong with this woman right off the bat. So, yeah, but it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, and she came home, and I remember hearing her open the door and just start screaming and crying. And, like, I just remember having this gut-wrenching feeling. I don't know how to explain it. It was disgusting. I have no idea how to explain it, but I have no idea why she did this, you know? And she started just becoming hysterical after a minute. Like, after she started screaming and crying, once she walked in the door, she literally took 3 steps into the door and just started screaming and crying. And I remember shaking my friend, like, trying to wake him up. And then after maybe around 30 minutes, an hour, I go, and I remember I go through the house to just make sure everything's okay. And I don't know if I have a recording of this. I don't know if I would share it if I did find it. I was kind of looking for it to see if I did have it, because I did really want to be as open as I could be with this video, but I couldn't find this recording. But I did end up taking a recording of her speaking to herself on the stairs. And the only reason I recorded it is so I could show my dad and show other people, look, this is what's happening. Like, this is my mom. And yeah, the days that followed that were really fucking terrible. We'd wake up and it would just be, it's also raining outside, so you guys might hear that, but I remember, like, we would just wake up and argue every day. She would just say terrible shit. Like, I don't even want to, like, speak about the shit she would say, but she would just say shit that you should not say to your son and not say about your husband. And I remember I would get really fucking angry when she would talk about my dad, and I would go off on her, because at that point, I understood why my dad had to do a lot of the shit he had to do. I understood him a lot more as a man. And I respect him more than anybody in my entire fucking... I respect him more than anyone I know. And I remember, like, we just couldn't take it. Like, it was just... I was just getting degraded every single day, and mentally I was just... I had, like, this... literally, my vibrational frequency was fucking so high. And then she came home and it just smashed it to fucking bits. Just being in that environment around her just destroyed me. And we couldn't even focus, so we ended up moving out. And I just ended up moving out all of my stuff. I remember I got my bed. I sold my cabinet, or we just threw it away. And I got all my clothes out of my closet and everything, out of my, not my cabinet. No, my cabinet. And I put it in a couple duffel bags. And we even moved my bed from my house to, my business partner's house. And moved my desk and everything in that, in the photos you saw before, all the stuff on that thingy next to my desk. I got rid of that. I just threw it all away. And the only things I took with me were my books and bed and laptop, and that was it. And it's not even the laptop I have now. It's an older laptop, but yeah, we moved everything out, and then we just started working at his mom's house, and it was honestly great for a while. I mean, we were still in our procrastination, being fuckfaces, and we weren't really, giving it our all. I wasn't cold calling, but at the time, I really went on the fact that I was like, I'm gonna quit weed 100%, and I just really, really spoke that, advocated for it. And I'm not saying that now that I'm gonna quit weed 100%, because I smoke at night sometimes. It's like, I know people who make fucking disgusting amounts of money, and they'll have a beer at night, or a glass of wine, or they'll watch Netflix after they work. Fucking, that's Alex Hormozy. He just watches Netflix after a fucking crazy day at work. And it's like, I really made the commitment this time, though. I told everyone, I was like, look, I'm gonna quit weed, all this shit, right? And I remember we went to Austin, Texas. So I remember, yeah, I'm just trying to put this all together in a sense, because it's just a lot. But we went to Austin. It was nice. I think we went for like only 4 days, and it was pretty cool. Really eye-opening. I loved it a lot more than Albuquerque. It was so much fucking nicer. But after that, I remember I would have like little arguments with my best friend. And I mean, you're living with your best friend of 5 years. You're gonna have arguments. You're gonna fucking talk about stupid shit to each other. You're gonna get pissed off at each other. It just happens, And I didn't understand it at the time, but possibly he was getting starting to resent me or something. That's what he told me in the end, but it was crazy. I don't know. I remember after Austin, we actually went out to Austin, and coincidentally, our client was actually out there too, so we actually hung out with him and got to really learn about car detailing and how the whole fucking thing worked. But yeah, I remember after that, we actually went out to Colorado, and when we were in Colorado, I was really trying to make the commitment of, I'm not going to smoke in Colorado. I really said it, and I fucked up. You can see that. And I remember we went to Colorado, and everything started out pretty great. I remember the drive there was great. We were chatting, me and my friend, we're talking with his mom. And he was staying with his cousin at the time, so we stayed with his cousin. And I remember it was a great trip in the beginning. And I remember they started like talking about going to the gym at 2:30 in the morning because I think Wes Watson did it or something. And I was like, okay, I'm down. Let's do it. And I was doing it every morning with them. And I remember I got this call from, I believe it was my grandma or my dad. I don't remember a lot of these next 5 days I'm going to talk about after I do, because I basically just escaped my reality after this happening. But I remember the news was broken to me that my house was being sold, the one I lived in prior, so I really had no place to go back to. I had to make this work, and that my parents were getting divorced officially, and that, like, I already knew they were getting divorced. I already knew the divorce was coming, but they actually signed off on it on that date. And they were divorced. They were, like, completely divorced, and that was it. And I remember just, like, talking to my grandma and grandpa and just hearing, like, I'm not going to get in depth. I'm not going to really talk about the stuff that was said on the phone, but these next conversations that I had with my grandma and grandpa, my dad, completely just shattered me. Knowing that my dad basically didn't make barely any money from the house being sold, and that he basically was set back to zero and had to go move across country. You know, he never expected this to happen, and it broke me. The entire situation completely broke me. I went right back into smoking weed. I think I was smoking weed on the way there too. I don't know. My memory is foggy from this, genuinely. I wish I could tell you guys the exact story on how it came to fruition, you know, how it actually came to be, but I remember I really started smoking, like, heavy those next 3 to 4 days. I think maybe at the longest it was 5 days. I just lost it. And yeah, I remember I didn't see my friend as much during those next 3 to 4 days. I just smoked and smoked and smoked, and I remember I just wanted him to talk to me. I just wanted him to ask if I was okay, you know? And he never did. And that shit genuinely fucking fucked with me, because I called another friend at the time, and I explained to them the situation, and they were kind of confused on why he was being the way he was. And I remember, like, after these 3 to 4 days, I got back into the work, started working on the stuff. I remember I finished this sales training that we were going to give our clients, and I remember I showed him, and he just didn't seem like he really gave a fuck. And at this point, I remember I'd wake up, I'd work on the shit, right? And then I would go hit the gym with them. Or I would just wake up and I would just go hit the gym with them, because it was really early in the morning. Or some days they would just go without me, and then I would just hit the bag alone at the house. And it got to the point where I was working out alone. Like, it just felt like I wasn't, like, invited to chill with them. Like, they just didn't want me around, you know? And I was like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna just work out alone. And then I remember I would come back to the house and I would go downstairs. And I would work downstairs and they'd be upstairs. And then I would walk upstairs and they would just be sitting outside or on the couch, just in silence. Every time I would walk upstairs, they would just be just sitting there, looking at me. And I remember I would ask them, like, yo, what are you guys up to? You know, like, how are you guys doing? Like, what are you guys talking about? And they just say nothing, you know, just chilling. And I knew they weren't just chilling. I knew they were talking about something. I don't fucking know what. But I just had this weird feeling after that started happening. Like, I just felt really uneasy. And I felt like it was my fault. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe he completely lost respect in me as a human being after that. But after that, everything kind of went to shit. I remember we we drove back in silence. We didn't speak the whole time we were driving back. And I remember, like, we stopped at a gas station. I asked him, I was like, yo, are you okay? Like, are you fucking pissed at me? Like, what's happening, dude? Like, can you communicate? And he just didn't want to until we got back. And I was like, okay. And I remember we get back, and immediately he just drives me to the park. And he just tells me, like, I'm done with everything. I'm done with the business. I'm done with the agency. And you need to leave my house. You need to get out of my house. And this is actually kind of surreal for me because I'm parked in the same spot that he told me this shit. That's actually crazy. I didn't expect me to be talking about this in the same exact spot that he told me it in. But yeah, I'm at the park now. But besides that. And, like, think about it. Think about it like this. This was my friend for the past 5 years, my best friend, saying this shit to me. This is the same human being that promised me no matter what. As long as I knew him, I would never be homeless. Because he knew I had that fear. That was a deep fear inside of me. I just did not want to not have a place to stay, not be homeless. Like, that was, like, rock bottom, you know? And he promised me that. I remember, like, I wasn't having a good time a couple years ago, and he was like, as long as you know me, you're going to have a place to stay. I'm never going to let you go homeless. And hearing this, like, it shattered me. Like, this fucked me up. You know, all the shit happening with my parents and everything, that fucked me up. But losing my best, like, this, I would have fucking killed someone for this guy. No joke. I would have literally taken a murder charge for this dude at the time. That's how close of a brother I thought this person was to me. And he told me I had 2 weeks to find a place to stay. 2 weeks. And at the time, I had no money. And when I say no money, I mean less than $100 in my bank account. And all I really owned was a TV, boxing bag, laptop, clothing, bed. Like I said, nothing really. We moved the TV from my room into his room, and I had a boxing bag I moved, but that was really it. So tell me, like, how the fuck was I supposed to pay minimum $800, $700 rent with zero credit history to my name, for one, because they charge double rent if you don't have credit history, or you have to pay extra. So on top of that, and two, just pay for the rent in general. Like, in 2 weeks, it was literally impossible. And also, how am I supposed to, in 2 weeks, get a job and get a paycheck and then pay for rent and also apply for an apartment? It was, like, unviable. So I remember I broke the news to my grandma and grandpa, and this just made them so fucking sad. And I just was like, look, I'm gonna cold call my car. I tried to say this so optimistic, right? I tried to stay so fucking optimistic for them. Just saying, look, I'm gonna cold call my car. Trust me, I'm gonna get a client. Everything's gonna be fine. I'll figure out a way. Worst comes to worst, I'll set up a tent in your guys' backyard. I remember that's what maybe my plan was gonna be, was setting up a tent in their backyard or sleeping in my car and going to Planet Fitness and showering there, and then, you know, sleeping in my car. And I couldn't ask my dad for help because, as I said before, he was in the Bronx, New York, in his friend's house, in a sleeping bag on the ground with my little brother. So I couldn't ask for shit. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep cold calling or keep trying something until this works. And I knew I needed to get a job at the time. I definitely needed to. And I remember I started looking for jobs, and I remember vividly, I'm gonna pull it up on the next slide. This right here. I remember this was inside of his back room where we had both our computers. But
this was his whiteboard. I didn't get to keep it. I remember I just wrote call and sell on it, and I didn't give a fuck about any of this other shit. Or no, I think this is all the stuff I needed to do to be alright. Like, I just wrote it all down. Yes, my handwriting is fucking terrible, okay? I understand. But I remember, like, I wrote call and sell down, and I just started cold calling everybody. Every car detailer I fucking could dial was dialed. Alright? And I remember I was taking sales calls, and they were not going well. I mentally wasn't prepared. I mentally wasn't alright for it. And so, gonna maybe be homeless. That's where everything's been going so far. I'm still grinding with this fucker. Basically, last person that has my back, me and a laptop. If this video makes it out there, that means anyone can do this shit. Anyone, in any situation. Because I'm in a pretty fucked situation right now. Very fucked. No home, nothing. So, if I can do it, anyone can. I remember it was like a couple days before I really had to leave. Like, it was like the deadline was up. I had to get my shit and leave. And I'd already sold, these are photos that I took actually for Facebook Marketplace. I sold this and this, made like $200 maybe, you know? And I remember my grandma, like, this was also fucking with me. She couldn't sleep, and she's older, and it was just fucked. Like, the amount of stress put on my grandma and grandpa because of this was just, I felt terrible. I felt terrible about everything, you know? And I remember I was moving this out, actually. I was dragging this out to the curb. To put it in my I was gonna stuff that. I think I stuffed it in my car all crazy, but as I'm doing that, his sister, my business partner, best friend's sister, she drives past and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I gotta leave. Like, he's kicking me out. Like, I have nowhere to stay. I'm gonna sleep in my car or in a tent in my grandma's backyard." And also, the reason why, I didn't know if I specified this a couple minutes ago, but the reason why I would have to stay in tent in my grandma's backyard opposed to inside of her house is she has very crazy chemical sensitivity, and it would have been nearly impossible for me to stay at her house without her having like fucking crazy ass asthma attack that could have killed her. So I was gonna just sleep in the backyard. But I was like, I told her what happened. I remember I think I broke, and I just told her everything. Like, I just like broke down, and she was like, "Nah, it's not happening. You're gonna come with me. You're not fucking gonna be homeless. Fuck that." And she's been through her fair share of shit, you know, in life. And I think she understood me, in a sense. Like, she understood, like, the main difference between me and my best friend, I'm gonna say, personality, or like, not personality wise, but just in life. Main difference is he grew up a little spoiled, had a lot of shit handed to him, and he didn't really go through a lot of hell, like the shit I'm talking about, you know? And I think she understood that hell because she'd been through similar growing up. But, and I genuinely, I thank God for everything, and I also thank her too. But I feel like God was looking out for me that day. Like, he was like, "Nah, you're good." You know? And I remember I moved in with her, and during this time, I was like, okay, and like, this is where I was staying. Actually, I still am there. Oh, fuck, 1 second. Ooh. But yeah, that's where I'm at as of right now. Of me recording this, I'm gonna be gone in like a week. So yeah, and this was like the little guest house she had, or little guest room. So I set up my desk and my chair and my headphones, and my grandma bought me a little laundry thing for my laundry. And I just started a cold call like a fucking maniac. Like every day I would just get up, go to the park, cold call, stay up, like I'm just cold call all day. And I remember one sales call, I remember I was 3 in the morning at a Cane's parking lot. I took the sales call. It was so fucked. And then I remember meeting my girlfriend. I think it was 2 weeks after everything that had happened, maybe 3 weeks total after I had to officially leave. And I met my girlfriend at the time. Oh, my girlfriend that I'm with right now. And I'm not going to say her name. I'm not sure if she would want me to or not, because it's going out to the internet. But I had no money, which was the thing. Like, I had no money. You know, like I moved in with this woman and I had maybe $300 total, right? And that went by fast because food and gas and everything, right? And fucking software payments, like Calendly and whatnot. But I remember I got to the lowest point ever, and I met her one night because I was just out with some people, because it was like I knew that I needed some sort of balance, something to keep me like sociable with people. I just needed to be sociable. Like I really learned that isolating myself for long periods of time isn't really good for being a sociable person. And I'm a very extroverted person. I really like talking to people, so I just need to talk to people, you know, on occasion. But I remember I was out with my friend at the time, and she introduced me to her, and at the time I had nothing. Like this is a screenshot I took of my fucking bank account at the time. I had 29 cents in my bank account, right? And I meet her, we start talking, and everything starts getting better, and she like genuinely believed in me, even though I had no money or nothing to prove, which is pretty fucking insane to me, maybe not to her. But I remember when I got down to this point, I hadn't closed a deal, and I stopped eating. That was a big thing for me. I just stopped eating food. I remember for 3 or 4 days, I just didn't eat food, and I called, and I studied my sales calls, and on the 4th day, I got a client. So it was actually really crazy. I was in my girlfriend's bed, and I was just chilling there, working on my laptop. And I take the Zoom call in her bed, and I blur the background and everything, and I'm talking to the dude. And you're just like, that, yeah, sounds great. And I remember this was like probably the best sales call I'd ever taken, like up to this point. I fucking hit everything on the script perfectly, and I was super excited. And also, by the way, I did not know how to provide service when I did this. I closed. I needed fucking money. And at the same time, I'm still applying for jobs. And then I closed him, and he was like, we're gonna do $2,000 up front. I remember he sent like half the first week and like half the second week, but I realized very quickly this is not a lot of money after fees, you know, and after business expenses. Like I needed to pay my Go High level fee, I believe, that week too. So that was just, I downgraded it by then. I realized my mistake initially, so it wasn't as expensive. But after I closed to this person, I fucking got a job as fast as I could. I remember that was my main focus, was just getting a client. I don't know why my main focus wasn't getting a job, but it just was like, I just had this feeling inside of me, like I can do it. Like I'm gonna do it. Like there's no way. Like the amount of pain I'm in right now is like, it's too much for me not to. And I got a job at fucking Chiba Hut. I don't know if you guys know about that fast food chain. Fucking gross. Didn't like it. Hated it. Decided to switch jobs while still working with this client. Yes, he's paying me $2,500 a month. So after around 2 months of working with him, I saved up my money. But then I didn't understand a lot about finances or anything. I was just spending money here and there, and like getting food and like buying just stuff, you know? And I remember I got to a point where it was like my business and my job both combined was making me like $4,000 a month maybe. And yeah, it was like I was making alright money at this point, you know. A couple months had passed. I've been working this 9 to 5 for like a few months, and I switched from Chiba Hut to this oil change place. And I remember every day I'm gonna play some clips I'm also, more images and clips are probably gonna pop up, but of me just waking up. I just remember I would wake up, I would go to work, I would work on my breaks, I would work while I was working. Like, I would literally cold call. If there's no cars in the bay, I would go outside and fucking cold call. I would be in the bathroom cold calling. I would be in the bathroom talking to my clients, sending voice memos, like everything, just trying to network, trying to meet new people. And after this, I understood that, like, I kind of have to make a leap, you know? Like, I'm just going to keep working this job. I need to get out of this. So I quit the job, went all in. I actually I networked around, and I found a fucking amazing media buyer who's had his own thing going on, and now we're kind of working together in a sense. And he's now taking care of a majority of the, you know, service, delivery, and onboarding, and I'm mainly sales and speaking to guys, and that is now kind of where I'm at. So I'm going to show you also here. I may have skipped a slide, I may have just gone on a tangent, but here's actually a video of me working at Chiba Hut. Just, I remember I'd filmed this at the time because I really just wanted to document something from that time, you know? And I also I was looking at people were posting some pretty cool Instagram reels. Like, I saw this guy on Instagram, like Bonkonomics. I know, if you guys know who this is, then cool, but I was following him at the time. He's like a day trading dude, but I saw him post like a reel of him like fucking washing dishes, and like it was a really cool fucking edit to like him actually making some money online. And I took it for that, honestly, but I remember I got my first $2,500 payment on the 1st of January. Really. And yeah, there's me in my Valvoline fucking outfit. Hated this shit. This shit was hell. I hated all of this shit. I truly it was crazy too. I would work, right? And at this job, I didn't give a fuck about anybody. I just was like, these guys are some straight losers. I don't know why you are choosing to be poor. Because in my opinion, it's a choice. And I really showed, like, through this, I hopefully have shown someone that it is a choice. If you're in a certain position in life, you can choose to change. If you really fucking want to. If you don't really want to, if you're not that uncomfortable, then you're not going to. I was in pain. Deep pain working these jobs. Hated it. Even though I was making $2,500 a month, I knew that was not enough. Like, food, rent, like I started paying the lady, like, we came to agreement, $400 a month, I can stay there, and that's it. But I remember I would go to this job, the oil change job, and I would fucking try to talk to my coworkers about this shit, about like how to change yourself as a human being. Like, are you guys going to work this job for the rest of your lives? What are your guys' goals and dreams? I really tried to help these dudes out. And I remember every morning I would wake up, I would go to work, and I would just watch them just eat fucking Krispy Kreme donuts and McDonald's for fucking breakfast. And then they would talk to me about how they would feel like shit. And then in my head, I would just be like, I wonder why. I mean, you know, like, I wonder why you guys are feeling like shit. You're fucking eating fucking the worst shit ever for breakfast. And I remember I think they thought I was like autistic or something, because I would go into the lobby alone every day. I stopped talking to them because they started, like, I didn't think they liked me after a certain point. But I remember I would go into the lobby and I would just meditate, and I would work on my business, and I would send voice memos out, and I would film content. I'll play a little clip, not content, but just me talking about shit. At my 9-to-5 slave job currently. Exhausted, got no fucking sleep last night. Cold calling outside. Fucking insane. Literally insane. People at my work look at me insane. Certain friends think I'm doing the fucking wrong shit. I wouldn't even call them friends anymore. And it's like, it's ridiculous. All I do is work out and work on my business. And apparently, like, that is the most against the grain thing in our society now. Like, working on your online business and working out. Like, every day I'm downstairs at my job and I'm doing push-ups and pull-ups. And everybody upstairs is just scrolling. Every time I go get food, I'm getting organically sourced food. Clean as fuck food, right? Because that's something I really care about, you know? My body's the temple. And everybody else is just eating McDonald's. And it's not like I'm telling them, like, why the fuck are you eating McDonald's? I could try to, like, just talk to people and, like, be like, well, this has this many benefits, you know, this type of detox does this biohacking supplement does this, it's really good for mental. And it's like they don't care. They don't give a fuck about, like, almost themselves. And it's sad. Like, I just want to fucking help everybody, and it's so fucking hard. Like, I talk to people, everyone I talk to, I try. And it's like they don't want it. They just don't want to help themselves. And it's not even like I'm forcing anybody to do anything when I talk to people or I'm pushing them into it. I'm just like, I just talk about the benefits of it. And I just try to get them to see it. Kind of switch their paradigm. And it just doesn't work. And they see the benefits too. Like, how many push-ups I'm doing every single day at work. They see me doing it. Like, and they just don't care. They think I'm fucking crazy. I get looked at like I'm crazy. Like I'm insane. For just exercising and working on my business. People think I'm fucking insane. It's like, I don't know. But if anybody out there is gonna see this eventually, people will. I mean, if you're in the position where everybody around you thinks you're fucking crazy, you're insane, but you know there are people out there that are doing what you're doing and they're successful, don't listen to them. Like, look at the world around us. Everything's getting fucking pushed in your face, like fast food, body positivity. Like, it's fucked. It's terrible. It's okay to be fat. It's okay to be broke. It's okay to settle down. It's okay to get an average girlfriend and treats you like alright. Never goes above and beyond for you. You know, it's okay. Just settle down. And it's like, that's what they're trying to teach you. And it's like, I can't fucking do that shit. I can't do it. There's something in me. Every time I got a girlfriend and they were like, I didn't like them. Or every time I would get a girlfriend before the one I have now, it's like, in the back of my head subconsciously, I fucking hate it. I say I love you, and I knew I was settling for someone I just didn't truly want. I know that sounds like a fucking terrible thing, but it's like I couldn't do it. Every time I ate fast food, I knew this wasn't correct. Humans are not supposed to be digesting this type of shit. Like, I meditate on occasion. I'm trying to get, like, really consistent with it. And, like, I guarantee if I started doing that at work, I'd be fucking completely, like, pushed away. Like, my coworkers thought I was cool at first. And now, like, I think they just think I'm a fucking weirdo fuck. But honestly, who cares? Who cares? And it was, like, pretty crazy. I remember I really tried to help these dudes out, and they just were not taking my advice. They'd be like, oh yeah, for sure. And I would talk to them about business, and they would just like, he'd be like, yeah, for sure, totally. I remember one time vividly, this was hilarious. I remember I told all of them, I was like, just also as a commitment to myself, I was like, I'm gonna start doing 100 push-ups a day at work. Again, you know, and I've actually stuck to it since then. I've been doing 100 push-ups a day since I've quit this job. But I would do 100 push-ups every day, and they would just look at me like I'm the fucking most insane person of all time. I remember I would be downstairs doing pull-ups, push-ups, meditating. They'd be upstairs scrolling. And I think everyone knows, like, scrolling and eating fast food is bad, but changing yourself into the type of person who doesn't do that is harder. Like, it's just hard for them. It's just too hard for them. You know, they're just more comfortable staying in the spot they're at, which sucks. I really tried to help these people out, but I don't know. But I remember, it's raining again, by the way, but I remember quitting my job and just saying, fuck it. I'm going to go all in on everything. And yeah, like I said, I met my media buyer. Everything turned out great. I've consistently been closing deals. Not like consistently, like every fucking day, but like I've been closing deals. I've been getting better. And I'm in the process of moving right now, so I haven't made a ton of revenue in the past like week. But yeah, I'm gonna pop up some screenshots right now. I don't know why it's not on the fucking slides, but where I'm at right now, I made around $8,000 revenue last month, which is alright, but I definitely need more. And I'm about to also go into, you know, I'm actually going to show you guys a mirror board, all these events in a timeline, and how they kind of unfolded, and why my life went in a good direction in one good time of my life, and then in a bad direction in another time of my life. And I'm going to also show you how you can kind of control it, in a sense, because you can't control life, but you can control how you react to life. And there were points in my life where I just did not react well. I just did not. I just escaped. And the whole point of this video is just, like I said before, I really just want you guys, anyone who's watching it, to really think, damn, I can do it. I'm in a fucked position and I can do it. Because the most important thing that really carried me this entire way, the biggest quote that I still have it written on my wall, is as long as you do not quit, you cannot lose. You don't play business to win. You play it to play. You don't get married to win marriage. You get married to stay married. And I just knew, as long as I just didn't give up on this shit, it would work out eventually. It had to. And it ended up doing so. But yeah, let's get right into this fucking mirror board. I'm gonna show you guys how to change your life, basically. And yeah, this is how I went from fucking not 29 cents in my bank account, basically, to $8,000 last month in revenue. And the month before that I made 5, which was pretty dope. And yeah, but besides that, I hope you guys liked this part of it. I'm not sure as of now if I want to cut this whole video up into parts or just drop the whole thing, but I really hope you guys took something away from this and learned something from this, because, and this isn't everything, as I said before. There's a lot more I would love to talk about. I just can't, and I will eventually in time. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the mirror board. What's good, guys? So yeah, I'm basically going to be showing you my timeline of everything. It's basically pretty simple. It's like, you know, my ego death, quarantine, getting canceled, all of that, and then how I oscillated in this timeline, how my life got good, bad, and how I kind of broke out of everything. Because most people, you know, I'm also going to credit Charlie Morgan for teaching me this, because you can actually just find this on YouTube of him talking about oscillations in your life. And most people have a baseline, a rock bottom, and then, you know, the best they could ever be. And most people, they live their life like this. You know, they're going up and down and up and down and up. And, you know, they just keep going and they keep oscillating. Maybe they're consistent with the gym for like 3 weeks in a row, and then they crash back down and eating fucking junk food and watching porn and, you know, jerking off and doing all the bad shit. It's like down here is low frequency activity, up here is high frequency activity, right?
And the average person does this. They go up and down, and sometimes this entire thing is tilted downwards, and sometimes the entire thing is tilted upwards. Sometimes you're going in an upward spiral, and sometimes you're going in a downward spiral. But I want to show you guys how you guys can break through this and actually jump up a level, and show you guys how I did it, and how it oscillated in my own life. So, you can see here, with my ego death, like, this is how my life kind of went, alright? It started off, you know, I was just a kid, a child, and then it just went down pretty quick. And then quarantine happened. I remember I went back to school and I tried getting back into shit, and then quarantine happened and I went back down, right? And then, you know, after quarantine happened, I started going back up a little bit, started maybe going back to school. You know, I wasn't eating healthy, I wasn't exercising or anything, but I was going back to school, and then, back down I go. Get canceled, you know? And then I was down here for a while after this. I just was doing jack shit, just drinking, smoking, low frequency activity. You guys know the whole story, right? But then something changes over here. Something completely changes. Now, the thing that changed in my life was how I reacted to life. You can't control life. You can't. It's just gonna fucking happen. What you can control is how you react to it. Because these things just happened to me, and I could have reacted to them in a positive way. I could have been doing push-ups in quarantine, you know? I could have been doing push-ups and pull-ups in quarantine and learning a way to make money and learning a way to develop myself in a better way, but I wasn't doing that. I was just reacting in the worst way possible. Getting canceled, what did I do? I just became a fucking complete degenerate. Instead of getting canceled and being like, oh, fuck you guys, I'm gonna get rich right now, I just got canceled. And then became kind of a dick, you know? I just did a lot of bad shit at that time. And then, you know, being a full-blown degenerate, that's just like what life was. It also was my environment too, and the people I surrounded myself with. But then what changed here? Well, mentally I broke. I snapped. I started just doing push-ups every day. And, you know, I'm down here the whole time. And then I really got on my shit for a second. You know, running to the gym at 6 in the morning, working on the business all day, everything, right? And I spiked all the way up here. I remember I had so much confidence. My fucking ego was through the roof. God, people would tell me, like... yeah, my ego was pretty fucking big. And I thought it was kind of the shit, because I was doing all my shit, you know? And everything was going alright, you know? Yes, I would sometimes dip back down, and then back up. And then, oh yeah, me and the boys are gonna throw a little house party, and nope, gotta go back to work. And, you know, I was fluctuating, right? And then life happened to me. Real life happened to me. You know, some hard shit happened to me in this time, like certain small things. You know, I was still dealing with shit from the past, but every time I would just get angry, I'd do push-ups. But then I just broke again. I didn't react in the right way. And all of you guys can react in the right way. It's just a choice. You have to just do what you don't want to do that's going to benefit you in the right way, right? Over and over and over again when you don't feel like it. Going to the gym is something that benefits me, but I just don't like doing it every single day. But I do it. You know, I exercise every single fucking day. So over here, I reacted terribly to everything, and I crashed all the way back down. And this is when I lost everything, right? And then, you know, business partner gives up on me, all this shit happens, and I'm still down here, still down here. And I knew about these oscillations at the time. I learned about them actually around this time. And that's why I actually started kind of bouncing up and down, because I actually learned about these oscillations. Like, I have a baseline, I have a rock bottom, I have the best I could be. And the trick to all of this is you need to make your baseline your floor. That's your standard, right? And then you need to raise your standards, raise the level, raise the bar completely. Like, view it like this, almost. If you think 100 push-ups a day is everything, make that a daily routine. If you think a cold shower is everything, make that a daily routine. If you think working for 4 hours a day is hard, and that's like the best you can do, that needs to become your baseline. Because then once that's your baseline, then your ceiling could be an 8-hour workday. you know? So it's like, you know, over here I'm at the bottom, not doing so well, right? And then boom, I started cold calling. Insane amounts of cold calling every day. Stuck to it every single fucking day. Worked every single fucking day, right? And I didn't dip down. I just raised it. I just got straight to here. I just, boom, cold called every day, stuck consistent, like violent fucking action every single day, calling every single fucking day, doing everything I was supposed to be doing right. At the same, like, anytime I had free time, I was learning about Google Ads. I was learning about landing page building and how to build a good landing page for my clients to actually get them good results. Doing keyword research, every fucking thing I needed to do. So then I shoot up here, right? And I remember at the peak of everything, right? This was 100 push-ups every day for me, right? This was peak. And a cold shower every day. And I remember I would fucking maybe not take a shower one day, and then maybe not take a warm shower one day, and then take a cold shower the other day. But now that's my baseline. I've been taking cold showers for the past 8-9 months. Consistently. Every single fucking day. I've been doing 100 push-ups every single day. Consistently. Meditation was also my ceiling. I made that my baseline. And the main thing that really took me from here to here was also a lot of pain and discomfort. It was not comfortable doing this. This was really uncomfortable to do. And I know I'm going to have to do it again. Because you can make these small leaps. And these small leaps, you know, it's like you put yourself in a lot of discomfort and pain for maybe 3 months, 4 months, right? 5 months. And then maybe you level back out, you're out here, but you're still above, you know, you're still above where you were. But what you guys don't know is you can actually leap all the way up. You can fucking literally shoot fucking all the way up. It's just how much pain and discomfort you want to go through. How much work that you know you need to do, right? That will benefit you, that you don't want to do or you're willing to do. And I know that was kind of a mouthful of words, but genuinely, how much work are you willing to do that you don't want to do? And for how much time are you willing to do that? How much discomfort are you willing to go through? Because I'm willing to go through a lot. I'm actually preparing myself for the next leap, the next fucking quantum shift in, you know, the next quantum leap in my business. And I know it's going to be really painful and really fucking not fun. But I'm getting ready to put myself in the environment where I can do that, where all there is work. There's nothing else. I can't escape it. It's either I win or I lose. Genuinely, I'm going to put myself in that position again, because I know that position is what's going to shoot me to the fucking top. And I know it's going to be painful, but I know it's going to work. So, yeah, I really think you guys, most of you guys may have just listened to what I said, but you guys may have not actually listened to what I said. Follow this and you can change your life. If you are not consistent with your shit, follow this entire thing. I'm actually going to link this mural board as like a view. You can like view this whole board. I'll put this in what's it called, in the description. And I also have another thing I'm working on down here. I don't know why it's so fucking small, but I'm going to be dropping that in a later video. If you guys want to check that out, honestly, you could go down there and check it out if you want, but you might not understand what it's for. But basically kind of like just how my agency runs right now, really. I probably need to add some more stuff onto this. I might actually delete this and then add it onto a later video, but that's basically it. I figured out the key to actually improving your life, and it's what I just said in this video. So I don't care how many times you need to rewatch this, do it. Alright? And there's different oscillations for different things. Like, this is just a very broad one. There was an oscillations for my push-ups. You know, like some days over here I would be consistent and not consistent and consistent and not consistent. And this is just a broad thing. This is for everything. But I mean, it would be good to maybe isolate out all of these things, like maybe your exercise routine, your diet, everything you do on a daily basis, and really write down, write down your baselines. You know what your baseline is for exercise. how consistent you are with it. You know what your baseline is for eating healthy. You know what your rock bottom is. You need to write all these things down, genuinely. And every single person watching this video, write all this shit down, and then make your ceiling your baseline, and raise your standards. Raise the floor up. That's basically it. So, yeah. Oh, fuck. I might have to cut that out. But, yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a long-ass video. Alright, I know this video was fucking, like, 2 hours long. It was a long-ass video, but I really hope you guys took something away from it. The main thing is if you're going through something, then you can make it out. Anything. Doesn't matter what it is. If you're going through anything in life, you can make it out. You can change who you are. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. You can change that. So, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. But, peace.